Hello everyone, welcome to another stream of love, money, and rock and roll. We are at the halfway point now of the game. We have won over Himitsu and Catherine. Now there's 2 more girls to go. Can we win them over? Or is it just impossible? Are we never going to be able to do it? Maybe it just isn't a thing. But now we're here, we're on the school roof, and we're going to see what's going on here. This is new dialogue here, apparently. So I hesitated to approach her, remembering the morning's incident. What was I going to say to her? Oh. Maybe there is not new dialogue. Never mind. Hi, Kagome, what's up? I remembered how she behaved in the morning after the tussle with those bullies. And after that, I was supposed to feel awkward around her. Can I sit here? Iwamura shrugged her shoulders and scooted over to one side of the bench. I sat down, opened the bag containing my simple lunch, and glanced furtively at Iwamura's bento. It seemed just as good as Himitsu's. Well, if Iwamura really was poor, it stood to reason that she knew how to cook. You know, I still felt awkward around her, which was really bugging me. If I spoke my mind, was I going to get the same reaction as earlier? I was wondering, why were those jerks after you this morning? Why do you care? How about because I was directly involved in that incident? Had the police been there, I would have gone on the books as an accomplice. They're always harassing me. What, just because for no reason at all? You wouldn't understand. Let me see if things are working. Okay, things appear to be working. You wouldn't understand. Maybe she was right. I'd never been bullied. I don't know the full story, sure, but seems to me that nothing happens without a reason. Everyone has their own reasons, Iwamura said cryptically. But there are laws. I don't know. It's not right. Laws? She pulled away from her bento, turned toward me, and looked at me severely. Laws exist for normal people, not for people like them. Or for people like you? Should I remind you that I was the one who saved you? Would have sounded inappropriate. Hey, Mafia babe. What's up? Good to see you today. Welcome to the 3rd storyline. The 3rd Love, Money, and Rock and Roll. How you doing? I was the one who helped you. She said nothing and resumed eating. You could at least have said thanks. Thanks, said Iwamura quickly. Now we're getting somewhere. She slammed her lunchbox closed and stood up briskly from the bench. Thanks again. Enjoy your meal. A little tired? Oh no. I'm a little tired too, actually. I woke up like not even 30 minutes ago. So this'll be just waking up, head in the cloud stream. How does that sound? Does that sound like a fun stream? Ha 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 ha. But yeah, I'm doing good. Ready for another day. She snapped back without so much as looking at me and left. Right, see you later. I muttered to myself, quickly finished my lunch and left for class. Oh, hey there. Kyosuke was already oh, okay. Catherine. Only thing is that we don't care about Catherine this time around. Alright, back to our favorite guide. Your choice. For this guide, it says your choice. Weird. Alright. I guess do nothing. I guess the choice here does not even matter. So we'll do nothing. Yeah, you're ready. You're ready for message number 3 or thing number 3 or whatever. Whatever. Hi, Mitsu. Yeah, Himitsu's storyline is long done now. Long done. Hello, Principal. What's up? How you doing? Hello, Kagome. Okay. She's someone you used to know. I'd say you take an unhealthy interest in your old acquaintances. Why did you bring her up anyway? Not every day we have a new student in our class, and such a striking foreigner at that. Hold it. I'm actually going to save this game, and that'll be the stream today. Thanks for coming. No, wait, that's a bad idea. I'm gonna save it right here. Can you imagine me ending the stream now? How much sense would that make? Alright, fast forward we go. Let's see. We are going to Nuttide. Once again, we're not hiding and helping Ellie. Can you believe that, Mafia Babe? I'm just such a jerk. Alright, we're battling the bullies. And then we left. Oh, hi, Catherine. What's up? Lovely drink you have there. Lovely lime, stuff. How rude of me. I know. Maybe one day, huh? Maybe one day I'll help her. Alright, my choice. Once again, it's my choice. I'm gonna lie. I was fighting robots on the roof. What? That's obviously a lie, you stupid flippin' Oh, some mysterious people called me. My life is still in danger, Mafia. Will my life ever not be in danger? Ugh. Try to find the tail. Alright, we're looking for the tail this time. Oh, yeah, this guy. Here's the rock and roll band. Rock on, people. What was next? Oh, hi, Catherine. No, your story's all done. Your story's finished. Your story don't exist anymore. Okay. Go to the roof. Obviously. To the roof we go! Woo! Hello, Kagome. What's up? How you doing? How did she even find out? With you, the only options are hanging, drowning, or drinking poison. Or you could jump. I gestured toward the edge of the roof. Why did that pause? Weird. Look for answers. Ultimately, Himitsu wasn't about to disappear and I had more important things to do. Left the school and hesitantly stopped at the gates. How many waterfronts did Tokyo have exactly? I didn't even know. I should have asked Ichinose which one, although it seemed like he wasn't sure where to look for this Akira himself. Well, just wonderful. I go, I know not whither, and fetch I know not what. That's a fairy tale. Okay, cool. And that most obvious idea came into my head. I needed to call the information center. I quickly reached the nearest phone and dialed the number. Hello, good afternoon. I'm looking for a man called Akira Shinji. I know that he owns a restaurant somewhere on the waterfront. Please wait. A grating female voice sounded out of the receiver. Took at least 5 minutes and as many coins, but finally I got a response. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone by that name. So did Ichinose lie to me? No, that would be too stupid. Are you sure? Yes, is there something else I can help you with, sir? What, had he forgotten the name of a man he'd worked with for 10 years? For years? I wasn't ready to believe that. Could you give me a list of restaurants with owners whose surnames are Akira? The sound of rustling pages came from the other end of the line. One restaurant. Could you please spell out the address? Quickly took a notebook with a pen from my school bag and wrote down the name of the street and the number of the house. Damn, it was pretty far away. For better or worse, I had nothing else to do today. In reality, I had absolutely no faith in the success of this operation. Going out there half randomly, just off the surname alone, was a stupid idea, but I didn't want to believe that Ichinose had lied to me. On the other hand, the outskirts of Tokyo are a great location for the restaurant of a former scientist, and an affordable one. I was jumbled into a crowded subway car. With every minute, the idea seemed more and more stupid to me. The sweaty passengers surrounding me made me more and more irritated. Luckily, it didn't take long for most of them to leave the car. The train approached the outskirts of Tokyo almost immediately. I left the station and was plunged into a completely different world. It had been a long time since I'd gone so far from home. Here, the neat modern brick buildings largely gave way to the 100-year-old wooden shacks. The scenery reminded of my grandmother's village, where I'd been a couple times as a kid. The houses clung to each other as if preparing to resist a tsunami encroaching from the ocean. Judging by the look of them, they'd managed once before. With mixed results, I'd never managed to find a single sign with a street name or a building number. I tried asking people on the streets, "Excuse me?" But that was a lost cause. Almost every second house there was either a restaurant or a shop. I could very well be looking for this Akira until late at night. I fruitlessly barged into one restaurant after another. Ramen, sushi, ramen, some kind of fish. Well, figures, after all, I was on the waterfront. The strong smell of fresh and not so fresh fish was starting to make me feel nauseous. I bought a can of beer and sat down on a bench to get some air and rest. Far to the east at the horizon where the ocean met the sky, the first stars had already started to appear, while the mountains to the west were ablaze with the rays of sunset. The sight was spellbinding. Maybe I didn't find Akira, but I certainly hadn't come here for nothing. The beer was running out, and my soul begged me to get another can. Halt! I seem to have been having much too much alcohol lately. Sent by a precise throw, the can departed for the nearest bin. Small Japanese women with giant bags in their hands and on their shoulders were running back and forth around me. Small Japanese men were boisterously pushing big fish-filled carts in front of them. Merry yells, ship horns, and the noise of the loading cranes were coming from the port. Languidly sprawled across the bench, I watched this human anthill, watched hundreds of people drawn by their everyday problems walk past and as they paid no attention to me. It was so good to not have to run anywhere, to not have to live my life constantly suffocated by the stench of fish. No, I didn't feel superior or better than these simple workers. More like I was different, granting comprehension or of the wisdom of existence. For a second, a familiar face flashed in the crowd. Or was that just my imagination? I need some time to get back to reality from the world of dreams. No, that was definitely Kagome. I jumped up and headed after her. Hey, Mafia, can you guess which girl we're going after this time for our third one? Moving forward in the thick flow of people wasn't easy. I was shoved, had my feet stepped on, was hissed at. Sometimes Kagome would appear several meters in front of me and then disappear behind people's backs. Finally, I jumped out onto a relatively free part of the waterfront, but the girl had already vanished into thin air. But I was absolutely certain it wasn't just my imagination. It was Kagome I'd been chasing. Kagome? Yep, it's Kagome's turn now. I've decided to save the best for last. Ellie will be the last one I win the heart of. Makes sense, right? Save the rock and roll part for the very end. Hee hee. Ooh, nighttime. The night fully closed in. I was aimlessly wandering the waterfront, all hope of finding Kagome gone. The streets grew empty. A cool, salty wind blew from the ocean. The temperature fell abruptly. It was time to get going back. I was about to turn toward the station, but out of the corner of my eye, caught sight of Kagome. Big bags in her hands appeared in the brightly lit entrance to a shop. "Hey!" I shouted, but she didn't hear me. It was too far, and the noise of the river didn't help. "Hey!" I rushed toward her, but a couple seconds later, Kagome had entered a building. Her restaurant. A restaurant. Gifts of the Sea. What an original name. The owner's name was written on the sign nearby. Akira Moriyuki. Well, damn me. Was this really the place? I jerked the door's handle, but it didn't give. It seemed the restaurant was closed today. And what was I to do now? Knock? But who would I find in there? My Akira? What if it was just a coincidence? And what was Kagome doing there? There were more questions than answers, and the answers lay on the other side of the door. I knocked. Several minutes passed, but nobody responded. The insides of the restaurant itself were dark, but a light blinked once on the second floor, which would have been the living area, which meant I had been heard, unless of course the inhabitants were all deaf. I knocked again. "Hey!" A rough male voice came from a couple of meters from me. I turned my head and saw a policeman quickly walking toward me. "What are you doing here?" What was I doing exactly? Standing knocking on the door. It wasn't late enough for a lone school student to invoke suspicion from an upholder of the law, which meant someone had called the police. Someone like this, Akira Moriyuki or Kagome, I planned certainly couldn't make room for a trip to a police station, and I broke into a run in the direction of the station. I was in no danger of being shot at, and the full-bodied man of about 50 had no chance of catching up to me when I was running. Yay! Just a couple minutes in and I was almost arrested. Awesome! All's going well. After reaching the station, I stopped to catch my breath. Well, damn. What the hell was that? I could guess that Akira, the owner of the restaurant, was somehow connected to Akira Shinji, but what did Kagome have to do with it? But I was so tired I only wanted to get home as fast as possible. Ooh, nighttime on the train. Ho ho. After taking the train, I immediately fell asleep and only by some miracle didn't miss my stop. There was a note under my door. I bent down with some difficulty, grasped and read, "Nico-kun, you disappeared again. Do you not want to talk to me? I'm worried." Oh, whoops. I let out a heavy sigh, opened the door with my key, stumbled into the hallway, and sprawled out onto the floor. I've done enough adventures for today. I said into the nothingness, crawled to the living room, and even without taking my shoes off. Same images surfaced over and over in my head. Kagome's frowning face at school, her silhouette vanishing in the crowd at the waterfront, her distant figure behind the door of the Gifts of the Sea. How many death endings do you think there will be? Who knows? I'm gonna say 1 or 2 this time around. Maybe Kagome will be nicer and let me live more than once. Hopefully. We'll see. See. I couldn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. The task was beyond me. Like in some trashy mystery novel, my life was ensnared by invisible threads, weaving them together into a deadly web. A strange note and frightening phone calls, my quiet classmate being connected to my father's work. What next? Was it about to turn out that Himitsu and Catherine were secret agents working for Japan and the USA respectively? Kind of? Maybe? The fridge was empty and there wasn't even a bowl of instant ramen in the cupboard. I fiddled with Himitsu's note in my hands and read it again. Maybe it would be better to call her. After all, she was worried. And it wasn't even because I was hungry. Oh. Call. Apparently we are calling. The tone the note was written in seemed to leave me no choice. I took up the receiver and dialed her number, all the while feeling like a child waiting for a punishment from his strict parents. It took a while before my call was answered. Yes? Hi. Well, hello. Himitsu's voice was cold, emotionless. I just read your note here. Sorry, I've been really busy lately. Lots of things to take care of. I've been busy, trying to win the heart of the third girl. What do you mean the third girl? What? Connected to my parents. I didn't want to tell her the whole truth, but I was also tired of lying. Or rather, I just didn't have the strength to think of something relatively comprehensible. I didn't know. You could have told me, Himitsu said, sounding injured. I didn't want to upset you. Do you think you aren't upsetting me by acting like this? Did something happen? Your parents? She didn't finish the sentence. No, nothing bad happened. Just an old acquaintance showed up. Silence! Don't worry. It's not about debts or anything of the sort. Nothing bad's gonna happen to me. Something might. That's what I wanted to believe myself. You probably haven't eaten properly today at all. Himitsu asked, ignoring my words. I guess. Alright, wait for me. A couple minutes later, and Himitsu was in the kitchen preparing dinner. So, will you tell me what happened? Will you tell me what happened? Yeah, my father just had some unfinished business with his ex-colleague, so I'm sorting it out. It's about his work, nothing interesting. I see. She drawled. It looked like she didn't believe me, but it didn't look like she was about to pry. Sorry for not calling yesterday. Can't help it, I guess. I'm not lying, I'm just very tired. Himitsu put several plates and dishes on the table. Aren't you going to eat? No, it's not good to eat a lot late in the evening, but it's good enough for me. Well, walking around starving isn't exactly great either. She smiled for the first time this evening. I picked up the chopsticks and threw myself at the food. Maybe you're not lying, but you're clearly not telling the whole truth. Huh? I was so focused on chewing it seemed like someone had muted the rest of the world. Something's going on with you, and it's not just about Catty-chan, and it hurts that you're hiding something from me. But you can't just keep everything inside. If only you could share with someone. I've got no one to. I stopped short. That would be me admitting that I didn't have anyone closer to than her in my life. And maybe that was true. But sometimes you want the truth, even if it is indeed the truth, to keep far away. You know I'd tell you everything, and if I don't, it just means there's nothing to tell. Supported my lie with the nicest smile I was capable of. I want to believe you, Himitsu said sadly. And anyway, we had nothing but melancholy around here lately. That's not right. Let's go out somewhere. It's night. Well, I didn't mean now. Tomorrow, or over the weekend. All right. She smiled and stood up. I'll go now. Good night. When the door closed behind her, I let out a sigh and uttered one thing after another. After finishing the dinner, I remembered my tiredness, and my whole body seemed to turn to lead in an instant. My eyes closed as if by themselves. Slumber brought me the long-awaited relief. The morning came suddenly. Yesterday's tiredness seemed to have vanished as if by magic, even though I only managed to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I delightedly stretched and went to the kitchen. On the table lay a simple breakfast and a note. Nico-kun, see you in school. H. I imagined Himitsu's displeased face and couldn't help but smile. It would be funny if it wasn't so sad. She had a peculiar way to be upset with me. What would have happened if I did something really bad? Would she make porridge instead of a 3-course meal? On the other hand, this was a pretty sad state of affairs, but there were more important things to worry about. They definitely had to talk to Kagome. I walked down the street, tossed up, and catch a ripe red apple Himitsu had left behind. It could just turn out to be my last food until evening. Helpfully, I was walking through the school's yard. Suddenly, joyful shouts coming from the pool reached my ears. Someone was clearly happier with life than me. Who was it, I wondered? Slowly approached the fence and hid behind the bushes. Splashing around in the pool was the parallel class. Oh, hi. There's Ellie, Mafia babe. There she is. There was nothing interesting to it. I was about to leave for the school building, but my eyes stopped on Ellie. She looked gracious, perhaps even aristocratic, both in a school uniform and informal gown, and in her swimsuit. Reflecting off the water, flecks of sunlight played on her smooth skin. Her wet hair fluttered in the wind, and her smile was so blinding, Ellie couldn't help but stand out from the rest of the girls. I wondered if beauty always came complete with wealth and success. Cute, I know, right? Very cute. In any case, her life was most certainly simpler than mine, and it wasn't even about the events of the past several days. Ellie simply didn't have to worry about the future. And what about me? Was I going to finish school and go work for my food? In another life, our positions could be switched. Although it could be that in this life too, there was her complete opposite, Kagome. Well, Ellie might have had a better looks, but I caught myself thinking that I was comparing apples to oranges. Or rather, a girl wrapped in a gigantic puffer jacket, wearing felt boots and with a thick wool kerchief on her head, to a girl dressed in an evening gown with professional makeup on her face. Kagome really didn't have time to admire luscious scenery with beautiful girls. I was about to leave when Ellie suddenly looked right at me and froze for a second. Is that me? Who the heck is this girl, by the way? Eek! She suddenly cried out and waved her hands at me. This was the last thing I needed. All of her classmates turned their heads in my direction. I was going to be known as the school's pervert. Japan was strict about this stuff. What next? I've been a layabout, a hooligan, a slacker, but never a pervert. Anyway, this wasn't the best time for ruminating. I crouched and broke into a run away from the pool. Stopping only at the school's entrance, I looked back and see no pursuit. I was sure they couldn't have seen my face among the bushes, which meant it was too early to crowd myself with the title of pervert. It would take some work yet to deserve it. I'd already finished changing my shoes and when I was about to go to class when a shout resounded from behind my back. Hey you! In front of me stood Ellie, her breath heavy, and still clad in her swimsuit. When I was starting to think you were normal, to peek at girls. Well, to be fair, there were guys there too. Decided to play dumb. No idea what you're talking about. Hi, by the way. Stop pretending. I just saw you at the pool. At the pool? What would I be doing there? I don't even know how to swim. Well, I do actually, but not that well. Stop clowning around. She interrupted me and stepped closer. If for some reason you think you'd come out clean, doubt I'll come out any cleaner than you. Looked down at her swimsuit. What? It took Ellie a few seconds to understand what was going on, and it finally dawned on her. You, Perfect! She covered herself with her hands and hid behind a locker. The nearby students had already... you're back. Welcome back, Mafia. We're just here now. We're just chilling with Ellie for a bit. Puzzling glances after this started to circle around us at a respectable distance. So swimming in a swimsuit is fine, but being in front of all your male classmates is fine, but here with me it's not? I looked like Ellie just wasn't listening to me. She kept glaring daggers left and right like a cornered lion. You know you're not exactly in the right uniform for school, right? It's all your fault. It looked like she'd finally started to understand what I was saying, even looking out at me from behind the locker. You damn voyeur. I wasn't peeping on you, just passing by. Is it my fault her pool's there? It really was a weird place for a pool, actually. How are you watching, then? Ellie said, calming down a little. Just daydreaming. It was a bad excuse. The bottom line was that I was still peeping. Okay, fine, I'm a pervert. Happy now? Nikolai Lazyborn of the House Anakin, the father of lust, the king of hooligans, do-nothings, and future hobos. A light smile appeared on Ellie's face. Hey, Geekin' Rat! What's up? How you doing today, my friend? You're a strange one. Can't even be angry with you properly. Is that a compliment? From outside came a gust cool wind, and she shivered. Watch it, I'll forgive you, but for the first and only time. Ellie ran back to the pool, her head cast down. Wondering how much this incident damaged her reputation as queen of the school. Or was she absolutely inviolable? Would it take something worse for everyone to see that the queen was in fact naked? Giggling, I entered my class. The Ellie incident lifted my spirits and distracted me from worrying thoughts of my coming conversations with Kagome. Meanwhile, her desk was empty. You're unusually happy early in the morning. Oh, God. Did something happen? Can't add anything from Kyosuke. Well, yeah, something did. If I were to say I saw Ellie in a swimsuit, he would probably have a heart attack. And what was it? Nothing important. Keep your secrets, eh? Alright then, keep your secrets. Not a secret, it just doesn't matter. Sometimes it seems like you're hiding classified information. Really? Why? Doesn't matter. He replied, mocking me. Okay, whatever. Hey, wait, that's it? Yep. What else was there to talk about? I glanced around the class looking for Kagome, but she never came. Catherine wasn't there either, but I was surprisingly not too perturbed by her absence. I'll tell you if you win a bet with me. Kyosuke's eyes lit up. What's the bet? You have to keep quiet the whole day today. You're always like that. The bell rang and the teacher entered the class, followed by Kagome. Oh well, there was a full day ahead. Bang, 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 bang. The lesson dragged on slowly, especially because I was replaying yesterday's evening over and over in my head. Kagome saw me. There was no way she didn't. And most probably she was the one to call the police. Let's say she had a reason for that. At least from her point of view. And if Kagome and this Akira Moriyuki really had nothing to hide, then why would she? It would have been much easier to come out and say they'd never heard of Shinji. At least it would be less suspicious. As soon as the lesson was over, I jumped up and rushed to Kagome. I couldn't let her leave. We need to talk. Kagome pursed her lips and frowned. What about? She made for a bad actress. Himitsu could teach her a thing or two. You know what I'm talking about. Don't put on an act, please, at least not in class. Fine, whatever. I don't really care what people think of me, but what about you? Kagome cast a quick glance at our classmates. We hadn't caught their interest yet. Let's go. She nodded toward the door. Alright, we're getting somewhere. You have a student meeting thing now? Alrighty, I'll see you soon, Mafia. Good luck at your meeting, alright? Make sure that it goes well and all your ideas are heard. The ideas of following Ultima 3... I'll see you later, Mafia. Good luck. A minute later, we were on the roof. I'm listening. The arms crossed over her chest and the focused expression on her face left no doubt that she knew what the conversation was going to be about. Her hair fluttered beautifully in the wind, her silhouette resembling an ancient Japanese warlord, intently watching the course of a battle from a hill. Just a couple hours prior, I thought there was no way to compare Milady Ellie to the present girl Kagome, but now I wasn't so sure. Well, she finally uttered with impatience, are we just going to stand here? I woke up from my daze and said, can you explain your behavior yesterday? Kagome's face seemed to be frozen in stone. She looked like a statue. Fine, then I'll talk for you. Yesterday you got scared about some suspicious guy trying to get into your restaurant when it was closed and called the police, right? Is this something you normally do? Keep this up and your establishment will lose every last client. They come to eat sushi and end up in prison in a prison van. And who is Akira Moriyuki? Your father, uncle, maybe husband? At the word father, Kagome's cheek twinged. She was completely unable to hide her true feelings, and this detached mask was the only solution she knew. Not likely it helped much. Father, then. I see. Maybe you even know Akira Shinji. Oh, don't worry so much. I just need to talk to him about something. Kagome just kept standing there, looking somewhat past me. In any other situation, her cold glare would make me avert my eyes, but right now, I was too pumped up. Drop it already. What are you hiding? I'm not hiding anything. Kagome finally answered with a slight strain in her voice, and then it dawned on me, what if it wasn't about Nikolai Anokin in particular? What if she was just scared? Listen, I don't think that, you have nothing to be afraid of. By the looks of it, I'd shown weakness, and Kagome's expression changed immediately. Afraid? Of you? You wish. I had no idea what your speech here was about. I just didn't want to have to have this farce in class. That's why I came with you. Oh, so that's how you talk now. I knew she was lying, and she knew I knew. The only question is, what if she had the confidence to stand her ground? And what was this seemingly quiet, unsociable girl hiding? Now, if that's all, Kagome headed to the exit, but I appeared in her way. That's not all, Iwamura-san. Please don't deign to explain yourself, or please do. Or do you want to say you don't live on the waterfront in a restaurant called Gifts of the Sea, and that you didn't see me there yesterday? Exactly. Her response was unexpectedly calm. We came to a dead end. I couldn't start torturing her now, could I? After you. I took a step back and gestured toward the exit. Kagome quickly, but not too quickly, walked past him without sparing me as much as another glance. One thing was clear, she had something to hide, and I was trying to find out what my father had been doing at Kobayashi Corporation, following Ichinose lead looking for this Akira Shinji, and in my search I ran into a classmate of mine, Iwamura Kagome, a shy, at least at first glance, timid girl whose only dream was clearly for people to stop bothering her. Where's the logic in that? Maybe all this truly was a wondrous coincidence, and she acted like she didn't because she was scared. I returned to class and was immediately interrogated by Kyosuke. Nick, where'd you go with Iwamura? None of your business. I snarled. I had exactly zero desire to make up excuses as he would believe. You've chosen an odd target, Casanova. Kyosuke smirked and bumped me in the shoulder. Bugger off. I snapped and he immediately disappeared into thin air. Next lesson started. No, I cannot believe it. This couldn't be just a coincidence. Kagome was somehow connected to Akira Shinji, or at least knew something. I decided to follow her today. The school day dragged on painfully slowly. During the breaks I chatted with Kyosuke without letting my eyes off of Kagome. I didn't even go to lunch to keep her in sight, but I didn't notice anything suspicious, and why would I? Finally, the school day came to its end. The students started to get ready to go home. I quickly threw my books into my backpack and ran out of the class. The last person I needed to meet now was Himitsu, and she was certainly about to show up. She would distract, hinder me, and then Kagome would surely slip away. I hid behind a lamppost on the other side of the street, across from the school gates. The minutes of waiting felt terribly slow. My eyes darted to the clock over and over. According to it, barely any time had passed, but I couldn't escape the thought that Kagome knew what was going on and was long on her way home, her tail left behind it. At some point, the flow of students started to grow thinner. The last lesson ended a good half an hour ago. Quite a girl she turned out to be. I lingered for a couple seconds more and quickly crossed the street. Needed to get back and check. Something could have held Kagome back. Oh, but there she was. Iwamura ducked out from behind the gates and headed toward the station at a calm pace. I virtually froze in place, my nerves and muscles strained to the limit, unable to move. I couldn't let her notice me. Made a titanic effort and walked past Kagome, giving her just a fleeting glance. Meanwhile, she didn't look at me at all, as always. Well, that's better than nothing. At that moment, I didn't want to think that this whole time she'd been watching me, waiting for a mistake. Well, why did I even assume Kagome was partaking in this espionage of mine? Although being paranoid didn't automatically mean I wasn't being watched, the distance between the two of us was growing rapidly, like between two cars and a math problem that left the same starting point going in two different directions. But this problem also had a common point of destination, the gifts of the sea. At least that's what I wanted to believe. The fastest way to get to the district would be the subway, and it was obvious what station Kagome would use. Who's this guy here? Ho ho. Whether I was playing private investigator alone or it was a game for two, she wasn't about to break into a run. Meanwhile, I had no problem choosing a different route and getting to the station before Kagome. The Tokyo subway warranted a separate mention. Of course, it didn't look nearly as majestic as Stalin's empire. Cool. Style of the metro, and that's because of the main point of the capital's transportation system was functionality. An enormous number of stations and line changes, hundreds of kilometers of railway, integration with the suburban railway. Himitsu and I got to school on foot, so I didn't bother with this human anthill all that often. I guess somewhere deep inside it scared me, as did many things Japanese, starting with the fact that standing in the carriage, I was a good head and a half taller than the majority of people there. But this time around, the crowds of people were actually beneficial to me. It would be harder for Kagome to notice me even if she were to look. This time I didn't have to wait long. Iwamura arrived at the station entrance right on time. Maybe she really was held back by something at school. I boarded the carriage next to hers. So far, everything was going according to plan. We got off at the exact same station I had been on yesterday. Gotcha. Now she wouldn't be able to talk her way out of it. The narrow streets were giving way to each other, and it was getting harder and harder to not lose sight of Kagome, considering that it was dangerous to get close. One turn, another, and the only thing I found in front of myself were lines of fish merchants and a bunch of local kids. I stopped and looked around. Iwamura was nowhere to be found. For fuck's sake! I swore aloud, earning an array of disapproving glances from an old woman and a stall. How ill-mannered of you! A familiar sigh resounding from behind. It was Kagome. How? But it was useless to say anything now, so I just waited for her to tell me something. You know, I could have just ignored you, Kagome said thoughtfully. But you didn't look like someone to be worried about, so I'm asking you straight. What do you want? She became herself again, that haughty, annoyed expression back on her face. But man, how much our situation had changed in just a couple of hours. There on the roof, I was interrogating her, convinced of my righteousness. And what now? I've been following a schoolgirl for quite a while, in Japan no less. If she were to go to the police, my problems wouldn't look so important compared to the possibility of a harassment lawsuit on my hands. I've told you already, but I had to put on a brave face on this sorry business. Or do you think I believed you just like that? A slight smile appeared on Kagome's face. Aren't you persistent? Of course, but I've already said everything I wanted. And there was that her cold disdain again. Why the performance then? You could have just called the police like yesterday. How did you even notice me so easily? It's a habit. A habit. Habit for what? You want to understand? She suddenly lashed out. I didn't get harassed every single day. Harassed? Why would anyone harass me? What are you even talking about? I flared up as well, and even though I noticed Kagome grew sadder, didn't think much of it. It doesn't matter. She stamped her foot, which for some reason felt very strongly reminded me of Himitsu. If only it was as simple with Kagome as it was with her. We aren't finished. Hang on a minute. Okay, we aren't finished. We are! Well, we are! Kagome walked quickly along the waterfront, clearly heading to the gifts of the sea. I was trying not to lose her, lagging a couple meters behind. As you can see, I'm not going anywhere. I shouted, probably louder than I should have. She stopped abruptly and facing away from me, said with a strain in her voice, "What do you all want from me? Why can't you just leave me alone? It's not like my life isn't difficult enough without you. You have no idea how normal people live. What do I have to do with any of it? I'm actually a pretty normal guy." Kagome didn't respond. Listen, I understand it's not easy for you, those punks at school and all that, but believe me, I'm not like them at all. I'm not here to bully you. It just so happened that you are most likely somehow connected to a matter that directly concerns me. Kagome didn't respond. God damn it, do you think I'd mess with you if I had a choice? Yeah, sure it's hard for you. I'm just here having the time of my life. Oh, whatever, you don't want to talk? Fine. I turned around and started to quickly walk to the station. Wait! Kagome's voice, barely discernible behind the sound of the sea, reached me. Well? I fired a quick question with walking back to her. You first, Iwamura said, stumbling, avoiding my eyes. Me first what? First you tell me what you need from Akira Moriyuki or Akira Shinji. What's your business with them? At that moment, Kagome wasn't giving me any cause for concern, so why couldn't I tell her the truth? Or at least a part of it. Recently found out that Akira Shinji used to work together with my father and another man at Kobayashi Corporation. I have some questions to ask him. And what are those questions? Now Kagome was curious. Sorry, I don't want to say it's none of your concern, although maybe that's the case. I just don't want to put you in danger. But to be honest, I didn't really give a damn about her. These thoughts evoked a viscous feeling of shame somewhere deep inside me. It's personal information. Oh, so picking my brains for info is okay? But your highness may keep any secrets he pleases from the pitiful peasants? No, that's not what I meant at all. Kagome returned to square one. She was so fixated on her own problems. She exploded each time anything reminded her of them. Fine. I simply had no other choice. Recently learned there was a lot I didn't know about my father's work. Well, I didn't really know anything. I received a strange note. Strange people have been calling me in the middle of the night. So I'm trying to figure out what's even going on. Managed to find father's old colleague. He recommended me to look for Akira Shinji, who's supposed to know more. A note? A call? What are you trying to drag me into? I'm not dragging you into anything. Just a minute ago, you knew exactly nothing about any of it, and were perfectly fine. Well, that was a dumb thing to say. I mean, you have nothing to fear. You're not connected to me or my father in any way. Yes, but God, what have I done to deserve this? I am kind of connected to Akira. Both Akiras. I gave Kagome a surprised look. Was it really so simple? But she looked like she'd already said everything she wanted, and was now just intently studying the waterfront's pavement. Iwamura-san? Was it too formal? She did, however, respond. Akira Shinji is my father. He really did work for Kobayashi Corporation. But then he was laid off and has to help my granddad now, Akira Moriyuki, in the restaurant. What's so secret about this that you couldn't tell me before? Just because. Kagome scowled. But why do you and your dad have different surnames? He and my mother broke up when I was little, and I've been living with her under their maiden's name, but my mom died recently, and I moved in with my dad. I'm very sorry. Yeah, sure you are. Iwamura grinned. I mean, you're right. I didn't know your mother, and don't know your father, or even really you. What do you want me to say? Would you rather I kept silent instead of just showing fake sympathy? Just the proper thing to do. Kagome wasn't ready to agree with anything ever, but she knew I was right here, so she just ignored my remark and kept talking. I don't know anything about my father's work, but he's not that old. I'm sure he'd find a job in his field, but no one would hire him? I guessed. She nodded. That is all very strange. Well, thank you, Sherlock Holmes. Am I to be your Dr. Watson? She pulled the tips of her hair under her nose, making them look like a mustache. I involuntarily smiled. Well, if you want to be Watson, I'm okay with it. Onward we go, to the gifts of the sea. No! Kagome responded, immediately returning to her normal disposition. Why not? There's nothing for you to do there. I'll talk with father and tell you everything afterward. Oh, you think this whole thing concerns me a bit too? What do you suppose you will ever do there? You don't even know anything yourself. Well, that's true, but that's that then. See you. Kagome, wait. I grabbed her by the arm and immediately felt her tremble, which was more natural to her. I wondered the physical contact of being addressed to by your first name. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Kagome froze in place, her arms were thrown around herself. She somehow seemed to grow even smaller. Come on, it's not that bad. You aren't going to leave me alone, are you? She asked quietly. As you can see. Fine, let's go. Getting to Gifts of the Sea took a bit more time than I expected, probably because yesterday I had gotten back to the station mostly at a running pace. Did you really have to call the police yesterday? Kagome shrugged. We may have a common interest here, so don't act like that. She raised her head and gave me a surprised look. What do you mean? Act like what? Whatever, forget it. I waved my hand so hard I accidentally hit a cart that was passing by, and a fat fish flopped down onto the road, slid down the pavement, and only miraculously didn't hit anyone. God damn it. I ran after it and into a fat lady in a kimono. The force of the collision pushed me to the side. Maneuvering between people, I finally caught up to the runaway fish. But when I came back to Kagome, the cart was long gone. Are you alright in the head? The girl burst out laughing with a genuine heartfelt laugh, momentarily forgetting about everything that happened between the two of us, and anything that could still happen. Embarrassed, I turned away, feeling myself blush. Here, for you. I stretched the fish out to Kagome. A nice mackerel. Thanks. She knowingly examined the fish. Just don't expect me to cook something out of it. I didn't really. You got a friend for that. Catherine? Catherine again? The one with the red hair? Does she diet or something? How do you know about Himitsu? By virtue of not being blind. Well, I guess you must be good at cooking too. Must be. She gave a short reply and immediately added, Here we are. And here we are. Today the restaurant of Kagome's grandfather turned out to be open and packed with people. Hey, number 13th. How you doing today? It's good to see ya. Welcome to the third route, the third girl. 3 out of 4. We're halfway done with the game already. Ain't that crazy? You're doing good? Heck yeah, I'm glad you're doing good. Kagome. Well, I haven't exactly earned a treat, but I'm really hungry. Hope I can at least get some food at your place if I pay for it. Wait here, I'll talk with father and come back. Iwamura said in a tone that would suffer no objections. What have you been up to today, number 13th? Anything cool happen? Your wish is my command, mistress. I sat down on the border stones, drooling at the smells that had reached me from inside the restaurant. At first glance, Kagome didn't have it that bad. Her grandfather owned a restaurant. Her father had held a decently high position at Kobayashi Corporation until recently. And why was she treated so badly? Even if you can't stand up for yourself, the social status always helps. You made a Litwick drawing. I think I saw it recently. It looked good. You're a big fan of Litwick. Were you the one that drew Kalumon, by the way, or was that someone else? Someone drew Kalumon recently in my Discord, and it looked great. She wasn't at the level of the spoiled douches from our school, sure, but also nowhere near the bottom of society. You drew Kalumon? I knew you did. It looks awesome. I love Kalumon. I was wondering what Digimon you drew. A penny for your thoughts, young man. Addressing me was the pink-cheeked, noticeably drunk, quite short old man. Just waiting for someone here. A girlfriend, eh? The smile on his face seemed to grow even wider at the narrow line of his eyes almost completely disappeared. You could say so. A friend indeed. In need. Heh, young blood. The old man puttered off, humming an old Japanese song about Katya under his breath. I caught myself thinking that I reacted quite calmly to him. Probably just because I currently had other things on my mind. I was about to go into Gifts of the Sea when its doors flung open and Kagome ran out of them, clearly agitated. They took my father! What? Who took him? She looked at me, aghast, her breath wavy. They took father! Who took your father? Took where? Her eyes flashed and Kagome took a step back. It's you. It's all your fault! Hold on a minute. Calm down and think logically. If it's my fault, why would I put on this act? But calling for the voice of reason was useless. Come on, think about it. I'd be the primary suspect. On top of it, I was threatened too. Just wanted to talk. I didn't want to scare you. Sorry. Made a low Japanese bow. It could be that this happened to your father because of me. I don't know what reaction I expected, but Kagome's expression grew softer, although she still looked grim, like Mount Fuji before a storm. Grandpa says 2 deceased decently dressed men came today. I immediately remembered the man who had been following me a couple days ago. They asked to talk to Father. Grandpa doesn't know what they talked about. Then Dad left with them and told Grandpa not to worry. How could I possibly not worry? I took a moment to think. Kagome was clearly right. To say there was a reason to worry would be putting it lightly. At that moment, I was convinced everything that had happened recently was linked. The note, the call, Ichinose, the kidnapping of Kagome's father. They were hiding something and covered their tracks well. But then why didn't they just kill me? Who would pay attention to the disappearance of an orphan schoolboy? No, there was clearly something more important going on. We have to call the police, Kagome said resolutely. If things aren't as you say, I don't think the police will help us in any way here. What would you even know? Think for yourself. We talked about Kobayashi Corporation, understand? They've got the whole of Japan under their control. I'm going to call them, and you can do whatever you want. Number for Kalamon from your childhood, it's so cute. It is. The cutest. Well, we have a choice here. Call... Do nothing? I guess it's do nothing. Weird. Okay. Oh, do whatever you want. I was absolutely sure to call to the police wouldn't bring any result, but it certainly was none of my business. Kagome returned virtually a minute later, infuriated. They said they see nothing strange about it. That father left with those people of his own will. How could they? What did I tell you? She cast an angry glance at me. Kobayashi Corporation, remember? The wrath on Kagome's face was slowly given place to despair. What do we do now? Oh, so now it was us. Well, I really didn't want to draw attention to her choice of words right now. Did your grandfather say anything else? He's not young, she replied after a long pause. He gets things wrong, if at all, and not for me and a couple of other employees, the restaurant would have been long gone under. Really? Looks to be thriving from the outside. Hey, Angel Love! What's up? How you doing today? How's your day been? It's good to see ya. Kagome smiled sadly. But still, it all started with you. She said in a serious tone, though not angrily. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Whatever's happening right now, it's just the consequence of something bigger. Me, you, your father, we're all just pawns in some game. You've been so bored. Are you at school right now? At school being bored. Well, hopefully your day goes good. Hopefully the stream can make your day less bored. Do you even hear yourself? Pawns in some game? You're talking like? I don't know. I don't want anything to do with it. My life isn't sunshine and rainbows as it is. You may not be directly at fault here, but if only you kept away from us. 3 homerooms in a row. Ugh. How was that even possible? I normally just had 1. How does someone have 3? What kind of school are you going to? Anyway, hopefully we can make your day a bit less boring. I was looking at her and just couldn't understand why she wasn't crying. I'm going after Kagome next, by the way. Kagome's the next one, Angel Love. If Himitsu was in her place, the tears would have already been flowing like a river at our first meeting at the station. Even Catherine wouldn't have managed to hold on for this long. To tell the truth, I could hardly understand how I managed to retain a seemingly cool head myself. Because of traffic, a lot of people were late. Aw, no. Late. Meanwhile, Kagome, yes, she was angry. She acted irrationally and even foolishly, but at the same time, she persistently held her own. It may not have been a direct fight with a looming threat, not a charge with a drawn sword, but this reaction was more akin to the silent protest of an ancient cliff, beaten by hurricanes, whipped by the winds, and would remain in its place even 1,000 years earlier. Without advancing even a single step forward and without surrendering a single centimeter, she was used to this life, and had climbed into her orderly world, bringing chaos and destruction. Fine, you're right. I shouldn't have gotten you involved in all this. I turned around and was about to leave, but Kagome stopped me. Oh, no, you don't. If you got me involved, you should take responsibility. Do you have something in mind? Yeah, I've got an idea. You were talking about Kobayashi Corporation, right? That's where we'll start. But how do you intend to? Meet me at tomorrow in the park across from their office downtown. And now I need to go to work. How can you even think about that at a time like this? I was genuinely surprised. What about it? It will help Grandpa, if not me. Father wasn't of much help. He was good with abstract ideas and theoretical sciences, but when it came to slicing cabbage... Kobayashi? Kobayashi. Yes. That is what I say too. Kagome let out a heavy sigh. Tomorrow at noon. Yeah, okay. She disappeared behind the door, and I heard drunken shouts of Kagome-chan, Kagome-chan. The windows of my house burned with dim light. It's about time I changed the bulb. The front door creaked quietly, and a voice came from the kitchen. Hey, Mitsu! Nico? Did she have some kind of detector turned to me, I wondered? We haven't seen each other all day. She started as soon as I came in. Yeah, sorry. I saw your note. I had some things to take care of today. At this point, even I could tell how implausible my life sounded. Come, dinner's on the table, she said in her usual didactic tone, as if the events of the past week never happened. So how are you doing? To be honest, I just wanted to forget this crazy day. Fine. She didn't even look at me. In a different situation, I would have probably tried to continue this conversation to find out why she was acting like that. But in this case, it was clear. How long could it mean to keep going like this? Well, it was entirely possible I'd been killed before she'd give up. And we had agreed to go on a date too. It's very good. In reality, I wasn't even paying attention to what I was eating. I'm glad. She responded as indifferent as before. So, Lolly threw the chopsticks down on the table. What? Going to keep acting like this? Acting like what? You know what I mean. I don't. Then I realized this was just her way of being upset with me, and Himitsu really did have things to be upset about. On the other hand, I didn't have to report every step to her. I had a life of my own, a dangerous life sometimes, one she had no reason to be involved in. You know you're right. I rose up from the table and strolled through the kitchen. Something's happened in the last several days. It was best to tell her now. Nobody knew what could happen next. And forewarned is forearmed. It could be that I wasn't the only one in danger. That those close to me were too, and I had nobody closer than Himitsu. You must have noticed. Himitsu looked at me unblinkingly with her big green eyes. I'm being watched, to be exact. I came to the attention of some mysterious people or a company. They didn't threaten me directly, but there's reason to believe I'm in danger. Nico-kun! Wait, let me finish. It was hard to look into her eyes, even though for the first time in a long while I was telling the truth. It's all connected to my father's work, or at least I think it is, and well, it's probably not even about me. There's something bigger going on, and I just ended up in somebody's way. Nico-kun! Mitsu stubbornly repeated, growing even gloomier. I'll talk to Dad, he'll help. Don't tell anyone about this, I shouted unexpectedly, even to myself. She flinched. You shouldn't. These people, I immediately remembered the fruitless call to the police. They can do anything. They got everything bought and paid for. Nico-kun, but how can we? I found a man who used to work with my father. And now he's disappeared. He was taken because of me. Understand? I didn't want to tell her about Kagome. Didn't want to drag Himitsu deeper into all of this. You might be in danger too. If I'm with you, I'm not afraid of anything. She tried to smile. Are you kidding me? Not afraid of anything. How can I protect you if I can't even protect myself? I had to calm down. Sorry, maybe that's not really that serious. I may be overthinking things. But in any case, don't tell anyone about this. Got it? Himitsu nodded. It's important. She wouldn't tell anyone, even on pain of death. Alright, I got it. And most importantly, don't worry. I didn't want to scare you. Nico-kun, I'm glad you told me the truth. Himitsu came up to and hugged me. I carefully caressed her head and pressed her close. For a moment, I felt a burning desire for everything to be how it was, for my former life to return. How could I ever think it was boring? Just wanted to protect you. Himitsu trembled in my arms, crying. Come on, what is it? It's just, why does it have to be you? You don't deserve any of this. Your parents, Kenny-chan, now this. Catherine, it's been a while since I thought of her. Yeah, I'm having the time of my life. I guess that's just my luck. Can I? Himitsu didn't have time to finish, interrupted by the telephone ringing. In the silence of the kitchen, it sounded like the thunder of a coming storm. Still distant, but already inescapable. You need to answer. Nico-kun! She hugged me closer. Don't worry, you. They wouldn't call me every day. They got a secret organization here. Not a telephone station, you know. So cute. I know. Poor Himitsu. I gently slipped out of Himitsu's embrace and walked to the hall. Hello! My voice didn't tremble, but I felt myself shrink inside. Nikolai! Let out a sigh of relief. Yes, Ryunosuke-san, I'm listening. It was Himitsu's father. Is my daughter with you? Sometimes I really couldn't understand why he was letting Himitsu spend so much time at my place. Surely he could have found a better son-in-law. Yes, should I call her? No. He responded after a short pause. Just tell her to go home. All right, definitely. Himitsu, go the flip home! I hung up the phone and returned to the kitchen. Your father called. He wants to see you. But I can't now. I'm... What, going to guard me? Don't. I'll be all right. I'll close the doors for the night. All doors. Fine, but come tomorrow. I'll come early in the morning. Yeah, about tomorrow. I scratched the back of my head and looked away. Kyun. There. I hope you're happy. Number 13th. There you go. I've got some things to take care of. I mean, fine. Tomorrow I'm meeting with someone who can help me. We're meeting in the middle of the day in the city center. I'll be all right. I'll go with you. God, here you go. Again, they're in a difficult situation right now. If we come together, it'll be suspicious. It won't take long. I'll call you as soon as I'm back. You're happy? You guys, you chat members, and the things you make me say, you know that? The things you just do to make me do the saying. It just drives me insane, but it's funny at the same time, and I love it. I'll call you as soon as I'm back. Fine. She pouted but conceded. But remember, I'll be waiting. Yes, ma'am. I saluted and smiled. Trouble sleeping come from idleness was something my father used to say. When you're so exhausted at the end of the day there isn't any strength left to even brush your teeth, insomnia is never a problem. The end. No, not really. No, not even close. 12:09. Can I skip? When I woke up, the clock hands were showing 11:45. Nope. Apparently I was so tired yesterday I forgot to set up the alarm. I didn't know how punctual Kagome was, but I absolutely couldn't get there late. It would be quite something if I did, to drag her into this and then not even show up. It was no less than half an hour's trip to the city center, and I needed to at least dress myself and visit the toilet before that. 5 minutes later, I ran out the house at breakneck speed. How long would Kagome wait for me, considering her character? I ran like the wind, dodging the few people I came across on the way. The streets weren't nearly as populated on Saturday noon as they were on weekdays. I managed to somehow get into the right running pace, so as to lose neither my breath nor my speed. Did I dress up right? Maybe I should have put on something more formal. I definitely had a black outfit at my parents' funeral. No, I looked stupid in it. Everyone might be wearing suits in the business district, when I was clearly too young. And the color would be too mournful as well. A gray one would fit better if I wanted to disguise myself as an office rat, although in just a few years I would probably have to merge with the indiscreet mass of these rats, running to sinking ships in the morning and skirting to their more gated holes in the evening. They were all living in some kind of economic bubble, doomed to pop one day. People take loans to live better, work to pay interest, take new loans to repay the old ones. The real value of money had long been replaced by zeros and ones in computer memory after having one replace barter. The several thousand yen in my wallet wasn't actually worth anything. It hadn't been received in exchange for my labor, hadn't even been won in a lottery. It's more like, in a sense, they reflected my share of the collective wealth of Japan. The wealth itself doesn't appear out of thin air. It is created by humans. How many proprietors like that considered themselves rulers of the world? And their numbers were getting greater by the day. They're convinced of their exceptionalism only because of multicolored pieces of paper and crooked signatures on bonds. Why would I think I've been born into a rich family, I wondered? Like Ellie, for example. On the other way around, what if my life had turned out like Iwamura's? Under otherwise equally conditions with lack of prospects, and my main problem at the moment was my own self-loathing. Kagome had a clash with real adult life every day. How did she had a bank account she could always take whatever money she needed to from without having to work? The game has time for this. Finally, the skyscrapers of the business district appeared up and from around the corner. I quickly crossed the road, almost got hit by a car, and entered the park we'd agreed to meet in. There she is. Kagome was sitting on a bench, anxiously turning her head left and right. Hello, sorry that I'm late. I was panting, unable to talk properly. 40 minutes. She pointed her finger at the clock. Being late is 10 minutes. By 40, it's like you didn't come at all. I looked at the time. It really was 12:40. I was sure I was a better runner. But you're still here. And what if I left, but you didn't? Yeah, because I knew you wouldn't manage to get here on time. Why's that? She didn't respond, just waving her hand at the clock once again. Alright, fine, but it was an accident. Usually I what? Skip school? Sleep until 3 p.m. after a drinking spree? And can't remember what I had talked to Himitsu about? Maybe I had gotten somewhere on time on a couple of occasions in the last couple of years. What of it? Just sorry. Kagome looked at me from under her brows and smirked. Listen, enough already. Are we going to keep arguing over who's to blame, or are we going to do something useful? So what's your plan? Plan? I thought you had one. We stood in the middle of the park, expensive cars, driven by people in expensive suits sweeping past us. The suits were infallibly all gray. Here we go. I said in Russian and slowly sank down into the beach next to Kagome. Weren't you following me yesterday, and didn't you make me come here? Wait a minute, it was your idea. Yes, but it doesn't matter. The initiative was yours. Right, and no initiative goes unpunished. For starters, let's calm down. What do we know? I'm being threatened by some people, probably because of my father's work. Used to work for Kobayashi Corporation. Your father also used to work for Kobayashi Corporation, and yesterday he was kidnapped. Moreover, here, in front of us, is the main office of Kobayashi Corporation. Let out a thoughtful sniff. Then that's where we'll go. Yeah, and then what? Think about it. 2 high school kids show up in the office of Japan's largest corporation and start to haltingly read out the synopsis of a shuri mystery novel. We'll be lucky to just get kicked out. I've no intention of just sitting here. You can do whatever you want. Kagome jerked herself up from the bench and paid no attention to me, rapidly marching toward the Kobayashi Corporation building. Hey, wait! Having no other choice, I ran after her. Ooh, we're actually inside the place now. Cool. The insides of the building looked even more luxurious than I could imagine. The main hall ceiling had the height of a 4-story building. The abundance of light and glass, the reception seemed the length of a football field. I felt pretty uncomfortable here. I couldn't take my eyes off the numbers changing each other on the elevator's indicator panel. Oh yeah, you can see it there. Oh, I see 15. Haha. 19, 20, 21. That's not what the numbers say. Was it going to pass 100? Was all of this really going to belong to Ellie one day? The leather-bound girl bouncing around the stage with a guitar in her hands didn't seem to fit the role of the heir to a multi-million-dollar corporation. Hey! Kagome jerked me by my sleeve. Yep, sorry, couldn't get my eyes off of all this. Never seen anything like that, even on TV. Me neither, but that's not what we're here for. She resolutely headed to the girl with an unnatural smile on her face sitting behind the reception desk. I caught up and stood in her way. What are you even doing? It's true that we need to learn the truth to figure things out, but not like that. You look like a terrorist right now. We'll just call the police and that'll be the end of it. But Kagome wasn't about to back down. In her eyes I could see a determined, completely unexpected from a girl her age. Get out of the way. Whatever. I let out a sigh. In for a penny, in for a pound. The uniform of the receptionist resembled a stewardess, while the girl herself hardly looked Japanese. Hello, welcome to Kobayashi Corporation. How can I help you? She jabbered out her memorized line in English. Kagome's confidence faltered at the most important moment. After approaching the desk, she started to hesitate and stammer. My name is Iwamura Kagome, and usually given before the first name. I see. She looked at me, as if we were looking for support. This whole affair had seemed like a stupid idea to me from the very beginning, but Kagome's pitiful eyes compelled me to act. It was too easy to manipulate with guilt. Hello, we'd like to talk. Wasn't doing any better. I had to pull myself together. Taking a deep breath, I started from the beginning. You see, her father used to work here, and he had been missing since yesterday. Maybe you could help us. We're looking for the contact information of his former colleagues or superiors. Anything? We cannot provide such information. The girl answered after a short pause, her smile much less cordial. Of course, we understand, but it's important. She wasn't responding. Listen, it's not a commercial secret or anything. I'm sorry, we cannot... Make it so you can. Kagome shouted, hitting the desk with her clenched fist. Looked like she just needed a little push. That's why I gave her by starting the conversation. Your people took him yesterday, in the middle of the day, for everyone to see. If you don't know, find someone who does. Miss, please mind your voice. The girl looked scared. Quiet, you, I whispered to Kagome. Now we totally look like a couple of Tokyo thugs. I won't move from here until you give my father back. She lowered her voice slightly while the girl was making a call to someone. Well, happy now? She's probably calling the police. So what? I'm not breaking any laws, and I know my civil rights. Rights, sure. Violent mad woman, don't have any. Please wait on the sofa. A staff member will be down to see you shortly, the girl said in a shaking voice. See, the truth has triumphed, Kagome proclaimed victoriously. For some reason, I didn't share her confidence. Oh, there's someone behind Kagome there. 5 minutes later, a man came out of the elevator and headed toward us. His clothes were hardly different from those of any other employee at Kobayashi Corporation, but the cold, hard eyes and the stern expression on his face made it clear he wasn't an accountant. Good day. My name is Kagemaru. I gave a slight nod. Oh, wait a minute. This guy's a Yakuza person. I think the one that killed me. Well. Anokin-san, you have been asked to come upstairs for a conversation. What, me? What do I have to do with any of this? Yeah, he has nothing to do with this. It's my father who's been kidnapped. Kagome flared up, having previously sat silently with a deadpan expression. Please calm down, Iwamura-san. Your father has not been kidnapped. If you wait here... Nice chin. Nice chin beard, bro. I'm not going to wait anywhere. I'm going with him. She jumped up from the sofa and stomped her foot. You have not been invited, Iwamura-san. So what? It's about my father. Really now, why would it be me? Looked like my suspicions about my parents' work weren't unfounded, and I was no less involved in whatever was happening than Kagome. Wait. I lightly touched her shoulder with my hand. We've been seen by dozens of people here. What, are they going to lead me into a cell in the middle of the day and shoot me dead? That would be too much, even for Kobayashi. I'll go. Lead the way. But, don't worry, I'll learn all I can and come back. I leaned down to Kagome and whispered into her ear. They aren't giving us any other options anyway, so stop arguing. Otherwise we won't learn anything at all. Kagome gave me an angry look, but apparently decided there was nothing she could do. She turned around and said, Do what you want. The elevator's ascent seemed endless. Unobtrusive music played inside, and I eyed the glowing button with Penthouse written on it. My head empty like a Buddhist monk in meditation. Kagemaru stood motionless, staring ahead of himself. Were this a guess his profession quiz, I would have answered Hitman without a second thought and probably won the jackpot. No, Yakuza. Whoa, look at this building. Look at this room. The elevator finally stopped, the doors opened, and we appeared in a spacious room with a panoramic view of Tokyo. At the window, his back turned to me, stood an old man in a kimono, most likely Kobayashi-jun, Ali's grandfather. He seemed to not have noticed us, occupied with the city sprawled far below. Did he really not notice, or did he just think us unworthy of his attention? Stretch! As far as I knew, he'd created his empire from nothing. I wondered if he, while still a boy, imagined that many years later he'd observe his domain from 100 floors up. Is that a samurai? He could have been a samurai in the past. He could have been. Hundreds of meters, kilometers, millions of dollars, billions of yen. He was separated from the common people by the same abyss that once separated farmers from their gods. But why me? To what did I owe the honor? Kobayashi-sama. Kagemaru bowed deeply. You may go. The old man slowly turned around and ran a disinterested eye over me. Meanwhile, Kagemaru disappeared behind a door. Is your name Nikolai? Yes, Kobayashi-sama. He ignored my confusion, and I felt disgusted about my hesitation. Maybe I truly stood before the all-powerful Kobayashi-jun, but for me, really, he was just an old man, Ali's grandfather at best. I tried to calm down. Your father worked hard for the good of our company. Did you know him? Not personally, but I value each employee's contribution to the common cause. Empty words and nothing else. Another way to make people work themselves to death. Ideals have long been known to have been better motivators than money. He walked up to the table, sank heavily into the armchair, gesturing me to sit opposite him. Why am I here? It was brought to my attention that Iwamura-san's father has come into some trouble. Trouble? Is that what it's called nowadays? And as the two of you have come in here together, I thought it would be easier to explain things to you alone. It was as if he knew about Kagome's somewhat headstrong personality. I'm listening. What else was there to do? As you might know, Akira-san used to work for our company but was fired. I nodded. You see, he took with him important information that does not belong to him. We wished to have our property back, and thus had to invite Akira-san for a private conversation. Trouble? Private conversation? All these euphemisms were making me feel uncomfortable. But do not worry. Neither Iwamura-san nor her grandfather are related to this unfortunate incident in any way. But you'll let him go when he gives everything back? I asked sheepishly. Of course, have no doubt. A semblance of a smile appeared on Kobayashi-san's face, and what if... I couldn't finish the sentence. He seemed to be playing with me like a tiger with his prey, lulling me with his calm and polite manners, just to tear me apart the next second. Do you understand the importance of keeping quiet about this? Yes, of course. It's even more important to make sure Iwamura-san behaves properly and calmly awaits her father's return. Yes, I understand. His passionless face and flat voice were much scarier than Kagemaru's hidden aggression. There were thousands of thugs like him, but they only had one master. Of course you do, my boy. This time Kobayashi-san's smile was real. If I'm not mistaken, you study at the same school as my granddaughter, Elizabeth. Elizabeth? In a different situation, I would have found this funny. Yes. Do you know each other? Not that well. We've met. Splendid. Splendid? What could be splendid about it? I hope our insurance for your parents' death is enough to cover your expenses. Insurance? So that's where the money in my father's account came from. I always suspected he couldn't have earned so much, but was afraid to acknowledge it. Yes, of course, thank you. What a terrible tragedy. No money could compensate for such a loss. Why did he drag my parents into this? The note, the calls, now I was convinced that all the work of Kobayashi Corporation and its head, Kobayashi Jun. But it's not like an antelope can demand recognition of its rights from a lion. All it can do is run. I try to live on. That's right, that's right. You still have your whole life ahead of you. The most important thing is to keep yourself from making too many mistakes while you're young. Now go, go. He smiled once again and called Kagemaru. That went well? We were going down and the damned elevator song started to get on my nerves. I shifted from foot to foot. Did you understand everything Kobayashi-sama said? Of course, one would be hard not to. I snarled. After the conversation with the old man, Kagemaru didn't scare me in the slightest. And that's how it should be. And explain it to your girlfriend. We'll see that you do. I cast an angry glance at him. He was almost a head shorter than me. He even looked comical with the Yakuza grin on his face and the tattoos visible under the collar of his shirt. Strict taboo in Japan. Japanese criminals. Okay. Hear that? Japanese is tattoos are banned in Japan, so don't get them. The elevator arrived at the first floor. The doors opened, and I saw Kagome sitting right where I had left her. I didn't know if I should tell her what we were talked about with Kobayashi-san. I was just afraid it could all turn out to be true. For Kagome, her family took first priority. How would she take the news of her father's being a spy, basically a thief? Didn't even know his true motives. And even if it were to turn out he was innocent, if he'd been taken for an entirely different reason, what of it? How could she? How could we help him? Going to the police would be useless. We'd already tried that. But I had absolutely no desire to lie to this sincere, albeit a bit too straightforward girl. What would I have done if my parents' fate has been hidden away from me? Come on. Kagemaru slightly pushed me in the back. I clenched my fists so hard that they hurt, but left the elevator without looking back. I had a decision to make, a decision important for both me and Kagome. Meanwhile, she stood up and quickly walked to me. Well, here I am. My voice didn't sound half as friendly as I wanted. I was starting to think that you wouldn't be coming back. Kagome sarcastically flung her hands up, as if I had been able to escape from you. Well, how did it go? Tell me. I hadn't really decided what I was about to say, but standing silent wasn't an option either. Alright, let's see. Looks like I am telling the truth. You better sit down. In the end, Kagome deserved to know the truth. Why? She asked angrily but took a seat. I met Kobayashi Jun. Kagome was clearly surprised, and I immediately answered her unasked question. Yeah, that one. And he said, how do I even put it? Just don't worry. He said your father stole some secret information. And you believed him? She asked coldly. What does it matter if I did or didn't? I didn't know the entire situation. Then believe me, my father would never do something like that. His work meant everything to him. Okay. Not the best argument, to be honest. And why are they accusing my father a year and a half later? Wait a second, a year and a half? Yeah, that's when he was fired. My parents died a year and a half ago, too. That can't be a coincidence. So you believe me? It was as if she absolutely needed me to believe her. I don't even trust myself anymore. Just a week ago, my life was clear and simple. And what now? At least your father is alive. I'm sure he is. Although Kagome didn't react to the double meaning of my words in any way. Also, what do they need from me? What did the director of Kobayashi Corporation himself have an audience with me? Doesn't it all seem strange to you? I guess. She frowned. And what do you suggest? I'm at least sure they have a certain interest in us. Otherwise, they wouldn't even had this talk. Yeah, I guess. She seemed to have calmed down a bit and was starting to see the situation without a haze of emotion. But I just can't sit and walk. To me, that seemed like the best course of action. But to say something like that to Kagome directly would mean another tantrum for her. And we don't, and we won't. Again, what do you suggest? I hadn't really thought about that. And by the way, who was that man? His name was Kagemaru. I don't know, but it seemed like he's not used to solving problems with words. And don't you think it's weird that the corporation is so interested in you? Of course it is, and I'd really like to know why. I should have come with you. I would have given that old man hell. For the first time today, she genuinely smiled. You think you'd scare him? He's got one of his own, Ellie from our school. Kagome let out a contemptuous sniff. What can she do? She's been fussed over and pampered like a child her entire life. She probably can't even cook. Well, maybe she can't. I was sure she had an army of chefs for that. What if she's good at something else? Like what? I don't know. Music? I answered ambiguously. I see you know her well. I don't know her at all. And she's got nothing to do with it anyway. Why so hasty? If something's happened to the director's precious granddaughter, I'm sure she'd sing a very different tune. Come on, let's be constructive. Let's. She lazily sprawled back on the sofa, her legs crossed. Need to talk to my father's colleagues, the one I told you about yesterday. I'm almost sure he knows more than he told me. Don't you think he might be part of the conspiracy? Oh, stop it already. Who'd find us important enough to scheme around? Yeah, there's something strange going on, but we're just a small part of it. You just don't know what my father was working on, Kagome said quietly. And what was it? I can't say. So you don't trust me? Same as you. Don't even trust myself anymore. She smiled sadly. I just don't understand much about it myself. Then we should figure things out together. Let's go! Stretched my hand out to Kagome. Go where? To my place. What? She looked surprised, even embarrassed. Can't we just call from a phone booth? You think I remember all the phone numbers by heart? I don't have that great a head for numbers in the first place. Fine, just... I started back and forth across the hall as if looking for support. Just what? Nothing. Let's go. It's going to get dark soon. Noted in my mind that it was only 2:30, but decided not to argue. How far do you live? I need to be home for dinner. Well, running here took me about half an hour, or a bit over that. I smiled broadly, but she made a surprised face. Running? You bet. You would have to run if you timed things properly. You know what? Well, she probably didn't. You can use the subway. It'll take about the same time-wise, though. Well, I'm certainly not going to run. We're already about to leave when Kagemaru approached us. Wait, aren't you forgetting something? I don't think so. Kobayashi-sama wants to help Iwamura-san find her father. We will now go to the police, and you will tell everything to the detectives. What? We aren't... This is not a request. He looked at me formidably from under his brows. I exchanged glances with Kagome, and the two of us followed him. Welp! We were questioned for at least several hours. Our testimonies were clearly documented, and then we were let go. Kagimaru drove us right to Kobayashi Corporation's office and opened the car's doors at the main entrance. Asshole. Kagome shouted after him and gave him the middle finger. Quiet, you! Do you want to go back to the police station? What was this performance all about in the first place? They know where my father is. To scare us, I think, in case the old man's hints weren't enough. It worked. Kagome shivered. I've never been to a police station before. First time for everything. Let's go now. We've already lost enough time. She looked at the clock. It's so late already, I won't get back in time. Oh, come on, what's more important, dinner or your father? I can't leave Grandpa alone. He's got nobody else left. I was seized by an inquisitive urge and found it hard to just stop. It's your decision. I'm not the one who needs this. Kagome gave me a piteous look. Do you think I'll be able to get home before it gets dark? I don't know. I answered honestly. Fine, let's go. Decision clearly didn't come easy to her. Evening was drawing near. We left the subway when the sun had already started to disappear behind the roofs of the local houses. Kagome looked around in surprise and asked, But this is the station near our school. Yeah, something wrong. So you live here? Well, yeah, for almost as long as I can remember in Japan. I see. Why? Nothing. Go already. Time's ticking. She snarled. Meow. Like that. Here we are. Kagome carefully looked around my street, the yard, and finally the house itself. You don't have it that bad. Quite the mansion, and in the city center, too. You understand it's not my own merits, right? Does it make a difference? God, no, not at all. None at all. Why do you have to pick at every single word you hear? Who lives there? Kagome suddenly asked, pointing at Himitsu's house. There? Why do you ask? You were constantly throwing glances in that direction while we walked. Listen, maybe it's you who's spying on me. You're good at it. You always have to keep your eyes peeled. What if the corporation's henchmen are watching you from there? No one's watching me from there. It's Himitsu's house. The redhead from school? Yes. Now go. I opened the door with my key and quickly stepped inside, while Kagome remained standing at the doorstep. Well? Maybe I'll wait here? Drop it already. I've just never been, to a guy's house. God. I growled through clenched teeth, turned away so she wouldn't hear me. I wanted to rape someone. Gosh darn it. It'd at least be on my list of... Okay. Why, thank you. Rude voice pushing me aside, entering the house. Let's get away from this conversation. Do you want something to drink? Water, tea, maybe whiskey? Water, please. She answered quietly. With a gesture, I offered her to sit behind the table. Is there nobody else here? Who else would there be? My parents died 1.5 years ago, didn't I tell you? You did. The awkward pause lingered in the air. So it's just the two of us now? As you can see. She noticeably fidgeted in the chair. Well, are you going to call? I put a glass of water in front of her. Of course I will, but let me at least catch my breath a bit. Kagome's expression saddened, and she didn't even snap back. This whole situation seemed to be really stressing her out. Alright, sorry. I dragged the telephone from the hallway and started flipping through the telephone book. This person's name is Ichinose-san. Saw him a couple of times when I was younger, but I can't say anything specific. Ichinose, you say? Kagome looked thoughtfully. I think I've heard that surname somewhere before. It's not really surprising. Our fathers both worked for the corporation. What was your dad's job? He was a chemist, working on alternative sources of energy. Interesting. Well, my father was an engineer, but I really don't know what Ichinose-san's position was. Sit closer and you'll listen too. Kagome hesitated for a second, but ended up moving her chair, bringing her ear so close to the receiver that we were touching cheeks. Phones with speakers hadn't been invented yet, so bear with me, I said apologetically. A long note sounded, and the second, and then another one, but nobody was answering. Finally, a frightened female voice came from the other end of the line. Hello? Good evening. May I talk to Ichinose-san? Ichinose-san? The woman drew the name out painfully. He hasn't been home for 2 days. You know where he is? Who is this? I didn't respond, just looked at Kagome. She put a finger to her lips and shook her head. Hello? Do you know where my husband is? Give him back. I hung up the phone. We were sitting in silence for at least several minutes. So what do we do now? How would I know? Wasn't this Ichinose-san your last hope? There's always hope. My words obviously didn't reassure Kagome much. But yeah, I was counting on him. How did they even know? Maybe they tapped his phone. Or yours. Tapping my phone conversations would bring about as many results as the SETI project. Okay. Cool. I grinned sadly. The corporation is damn good at covering its tracks, though. But then why are we still... Don't think about it. But just don't. We're fine. And we'll keep being fine. Who was I trying to calm down more? Her or myself? Sorry. Kagome looked at me right in the eye. I don't usually act like this, and I'm usually not that emotional and, well, quick-tempered. I just don't have anyone besides my father and granddad. When Mom died, it seemed like my life was over. I don't want to go through it again. It's all right. I understand. I really didn't expect her to start apologizing. I immediately felt uncomfortable. Once again, I noted that out of the two of us, Kagome had it worse. I'll help you to find your father. Thank you. She smiled genuinely. Nico-kun, are you home? Himitsu's voice sounded from the outside. Kagome gave me a questioning look. It's okay. I'll be right back. I should go already. Wait just a minute. She gave a slight nod. I ran into the hallway and blocked Himitsu's path, preventing her from going further. Are you not alone, Nico-kun? No. Why'd you think so? Let out a stupid laugh. Oh. Why was I lying to her again? A girl's shoes. Is it Catty-chan? Catherine? What? No. Mitsu slipped under my arm and walked into the kitchen while I dragged myself after her. Kagome, meet Himitsu. Good evening. She gave a dry greeting. Sorry for interrupting, Iwamura-senpai. You aren't interrupting anything. We were just... What? Doing homework? There was a higher chance Himitsu would believe we were studying the Kama Sutra. We got a joint out-of-class project. Kagome said without a shadow of hesitation in her voice. Yeah, right, a project. Is that so? Himitsu curled her lips into an artificial smile, and I really shouldn't interrupt. Sorry I didn't warn you. She didn't respond and gave Kagome a cold and extremely formal goodbye, and left. Wait a minute. I caught up to Himitsu on the street. In a different situation, I probably wouldn't have cared what she thought, but now only an idiot wouldn't realize that the person I was supposed to meet today was Kagome. It's not what it looks like. And what does it look like, Nico-kun? Her face was expressionless, like a kabuki mask. Yes, art form, yes. I know all about kabuki. I would guess. In any case, let's talk about this tomorrow. I'm busy cleaning tomorrow. Then on Monday. Himitsu responded in the same cold way and calmly headed home. When I returned, Kagome asked, Why the hell would you have to warn her? Actually, yeah. What kind of relationship are the two of you in? Relationship? Well, we've known each other since childhood, and as you can see, we live right across from each other. So childhood friends and nothing but? Yes, nothing but. Why all the questions? Just interested, since you're... Stop. In Japanese, the formal you sounded too impersonal. I've got a name, you know, Nikolai. I've told you. But stop with the Japanese conventions, especially since I'm not Japanese. Fine, Nikolai. She was funnily mispronouncing the I. Knowing me, I am too. Oof, no, not like that. You can call me what Himitsu does, Nico-kun. No way, we're not that close. Well, yeah, I guess. Nico-san. I felt somewhat flustered. It wasn't often that I was regarded so respectfully. Let's go with that. Now I really need to go. She stood up and waited for me to see her off as was appropriate. Too bad we didn't manage to find out anything today. That's not true. We learned a lot about the corporation, about Kobayashi-jun. It's a good start. Didn't take you for an optimist. I am a realist, and this seems to be a pretty adequate assessment of the situation. Well, maybe you're right. So then, till later. Wait, let me at least see you in the station, I offered. I don't think I'm in any danger in the middle of the city. Kagome smiled me a farewell, waving her hand, and ran off. I returned to the kitchen, sat down on the table, and only then realized how terribly tired I was. There was a bottle of father's whiskey tucked away in the closet. I poured myself a glass and looked through it at the sun that already almost disappeared before the horizon. Not as simple as you look, Iwamura Kagome. I was obviously not happy with the current situation, but sorted it out together and still promised to be easier than doing it alone. And luckily, I would be doing it with Kagome instead of someone else. Watching some meaningless talk show on TV, I quickly got hammered and soon blacked out. No bed for me. Just spiraled out on the table. The 13th. Why does it rain, I wondered. Not in the scientific sense, but from the rain's perspective, why does it do it? In its first place, I'd stay in the clouds, closer to the stars. What are you talking about? And it rained during the night. Rain is a great sleep companion, and in the morning I felt rested. Even the hangover spared me. Today was Sunday, which meant Himitsu was busy cleaning and I wouldn't get breakfast, although it wasn't about breakfast at all. I had to explain myself to her somehow, but I definitely wasn't going to tell her about Kagome and what I had learned yesterday in Kobayashi Corporation's offices. There was no need to drag Himitsu into this, and that wasn't the only reason. Well then, I intended to tackle the problems as they came. I made scrambled eggs yet again. I started to eat them with gutso, having poured a generous amount of soy sauce on top. Was there soy sauce in Russia, I wondered? I was quite used to it by now. A doorbell. Had Himitsu found the time to visit me after all? But all I found was Kagome at my doorstep. Hi! She looked stiff and avoided looking at me in the eye. Well, hello. What brings you here? We need to talk about something. All right, come in. Want some tea? Yes, thank you. Now that's unexpected. I uttered the thought out loud. I don't want to bother you if you... It's all good. Come on in. Kagome was focused on drinking the now cold tea and was clearly gathering her strength to begin the conversation. Today she looked much more confident and wasn't so embarrassed being alone with me in my house. And we'd only known each other for a couple of days. Was she really that easy to get through? I spent the entire night thinking about yesterday, and I think I know what we should do next. And that is, remember how you mentioned Kobayashi Jun's granddaughter? Ellie, I think? Yes, what about her? She's his granddaughter. What's there to understand? I know that, but what do you want from her? You think Grandpa confides with her about his affairs? I don't know, but... Or do you want to threaten her? I just want to talk. Kagome's expression grew dark, and she started to look more like herself. I don't see the point. Fine, if you don't want to help. She stood up, clearly expecting me to stop her. Was there something else? Kagome let out a displeased huff and sat back down. You do understand I have no one else to turn to, right? And you know her too? I've already told you I don't. She at least knows you by sight. Iwamura seemed to ignore my words. Did she realize I was lying? Sure, I wouldn't say I was friends with Ellie, but at least could say hello to her on the street. Even if I wanted to, and I think this is a dumb idea, mind you, but even if I wanted to, I don't know her well enough to simply come up to her at school and then call her. Kagome interrupted me. How's that better? You think I know her number? Well, find it then. Kagome's behavior began to seem like that of a capricious child. And who would tell it to me? Is there really no one? I thought for a moment. I guess Kyosuke could know. He had a dossier on each and every even somewhat notable character at our school, and Kobayashi Ellie probably has the biggest one. Would it be a good idea to involve him? Maybe. Then what are you waiting for? Kagome asked with a smile inappropriate for the situation. Okay, fine, but if something goes wrong, I'll say it was your idea. Very manly of me. Kyosuke picked up almost immediately. Hello! He drawled in a disgusting manner. Hi, it's me. Gotta ask you something. Oh, Nick, hey what is it? By the way, I got my hands on a certain videotape, and it's really something. Porn was the last thing I cared about right now. I hadn't come up with a good enough excuse of needing Ellie's number. I wasn't sure if it was even possible to think of something believable in such a short time. I'll give it to you straight. I need Kobayashi Ellie's telephone number. Kyosuke took a little while to respond, but when he did, he shouted, Nick, you old Casanova, I knew she sank into your heart after that time in that cafeteria. Can you just tell me if you have her number or not? I may, but you do understand, information like this isn't easy to come by. It's worth a pretty penny, or a gainful barter. What do you want? Seem to think about it. Let it be a favor, and then you'll return it when I need one. Deal. And also, don't tell anyone I asked you for it. Understand? Why, that's not in my best interest. He giggled and read out Ellie's number. Well, happy now? I let out a sigh of relief after putting down the phone. For this, I was now in Kyosuke's debt. See, it wasn't as hard as you were playing it up to be. It's not hard now, but just you wait. Playing up, the dumb smile on my face was mostly a result of genuine surprise. If I was playing it up, why thank you. Whatever, let's call. The phone stared at me with its 10 holes and seemed to be grinning. I had absolutely no idea what I'd say to Ellie. Meanwhile, Kagome was sitting nearby, seemingly attempting to telepathically communicate her displeasure and impatience. Eventually, I couldn't bear with it either, snatched up the phone and resolutely dialed the number. A response didn't come for a long, painfully long time. Finally, an old man's voice sounded from the receiver. Kobayashi Estate. No, it definitely wasn't Kobayashi Jun. His voice seemed to have been ingrained into my mind forever. Hello, my surname is Anokin, and I'd like to talk to Kobayashi with Ellie-san. Please wait a minute. The voice dispassionately responded. I covered the receiver with my hand and whispered to Kagome. Probably a butler. Didn't even take a minute. Hello? Hi, it's Anokin. We've met. Was mumbling like an 8th grader on his first date. Ah, the school bore. Hi, what brings you? She responded merrily, without a shred of surprise in her voice. I didn't know what to say now. Give it here. Kagome roughly took the receiver out of my hands. Roughly and so quickly that I had no time to react. This is Iwamura Kagome, Nico-san's classmate. You don't know me, but I know who you are. I know you're Kobayashi Jun's granddaughter. And what I need from you is for your family, for your goddamn corporation to give me back my father. I couldn't hear how Ellie responded and could only guess. Even then, you could still talk to him. Really? Kagome's lips stretched into an evil smile. Maybe I can't do much, but I'm fully capable at putting a princess like you in her place. Oh, is that so? Then come and let's talk face to face. To Nico-san's house. None of your business what I'm doing here. Oh no, just you wait. Do you want the entire school to find out about your hobby? Doesn't matter how I know. You better be here in an hour. What's your address? Kagome asked me. I limply told her. I'm waiting. She hung up. How do you know that? I didn't even have the time to finish. That she pretends to be a rock star? Kagome smugly asked. Yes. Wasn't hard to find out. For my father, I'm ready to do anything. Indeed, Ellie wasn't exactly trying to hide. Not that she could, performing in clubs packed with people. But then why'd she be found out at school? It would anyway, but the later the better. Need to be careful around you. You bet. Alright then, let's wait. Kagome was staring into space, sitting on the chair, barely even blinking. In the end, my composure snapped and I started to walk in circles around the kitchen. You don't seem to be nervous at all. Would it help? She calmly asked. What would? Nothing, although... She took a plate with the unfinished eggs from the table and cautiously sniffed it, using herself to test biological weapons. You know what? It's perfectly edible. Kagome smirked in good nature, and I immediately lost faith in my culinary skills. We can eat while we wait. 10 minutes later, the table housed a full lunch with several dishes. They tasted at least no worse than Himitsu's, but were cooked much more professionally. I was just about to compliment Kagome, but then decided it wasn't the time or the place. She knew full well she was a good cook. Thank you. It was very good. I limited myself to a polite thank you. You bet. She grinned and started to clean the table. Let me at least wash the dishes. Can you? You wouldn't believe it. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang. Kagome looked at the clock and thoughtfully said, Preciseness is the politeness of kings. Punctuality, not preciseness. I thought, but kept my mouth shut. Oh, the two other girls, meet. Soon the three of us were sitting in my kitchen, introduced the girls to each other. But what next? There was no sense of trying to think I had no choice and wasn't to blame. Even if Kagome's actions were sometimes almost impossible to predict, Ellie still had absolute nothing to do with it. And I was still going to end up being the scapegoat. I was the one Kobayashi Jun had warned. The girls stood at different sides of the kitchen, refusing to look at each other. Ellie folded her arms over her chest, carefully studying my garden. Kagome, meanwhile, languidly crossed her legs and stared at me in anticipation, implying that I was the master of the house and the ball was in my court. Girls, how about tea? Your tea isn't poison, but I'd rather not drink it more than I have to. Kagome sniffed while Ellie addressed me with a smile. I like some, thank you. The teapot still held enough of the morning's brew. but offered something like that to guests, one of which had her own restaurant, would be disrespectful even to myself. I quickly cleaned out the remnants and poured in a fresh hot water. Meanwhile, Ellie sat opposite from Kagome and seemed to be trying to destroy the latter with a glare. Oh dang. Scary. Very scary. Bad move. So what did you want to talk about, Iwamura-san? Your tantrum earlier wasn't exactly informative. There was no tantrum. Kagome was about to go off again, but managed to collect herself. My father used to work for your company, grandfather's company, and that's simply work. He dedicated his entire life to it. You people didn't just fire him, but kidnapped him in the middle of the day. Probably have nothing to do with it, and don't even know what your grandfather is capable of. But that doesn't matter. In history, there's plenty of tyrants who answered for their sins, together with their families. Had she prepared for this speech in advance? So what do you propose? Would you send me to the guillotine? Ellie smirked. I just want you to talk with your grandfather. I guess Kagome didn't have a tangible plan, and even didn't really know what she wanted from Ellie. And what am I supposed to tell him? That some petulant girl accused him of who knows what? I'd sooner call the police. Now that was definitely a bad idea. Girls, I shyly try to intervene. Go on, do it. Here's the tea. Kagome didn't even look at me, while Ellie accepted the cup with gratitude. Thank you! Though she immediately moved it away and continued the verbal skirmish. You sure it wasn't your imagination? You know, we have a good hospital. I can ask a psychiatrist to see you. Is sarcasm all you're capable of? You think you're better than me? And why is that? Just because you have money and power? Not at all. I just don't attack people for no reason. Kagome bit her lip and turned away for a second. If I had a choice, yesterday we went to the offices of Kobayashi Corporation, but didn't manage to achieve anything. We went? You mean you? And Ellie gave me a questioning look, not an angry one, but a seemingly chastising. I immediately felt ashamed, and as if I had been kicked a ball to the neighbor's yard and climbed after it without permission. Yeah, we did. Don't get it wrong. It's true that Kagome doesn't always express herself sensibly, but her father really is in trouble. Trouble? I didn't seem to have chosen the best word for it either. Doesn't always. Sensibly. Each of them seemed to hear only what she wanted to hear, with Kagome finally seeming to have noticed I was in the room too. So what happened to your father? He was taken by some people. We agreed with Kagome, but with the way she had treated Ellie, it was hard to stand with her as a united front. It was even harder to choose words that wouldn't upset Ellie. We think that Kagome's father was taken because of his work for Kobayashi Corporation. And you too? Ellie said sadly. Because it's the truth. How many times do we need to say it for you to understand? I can't believe that, Grandpa. She seemed to think about it for a moment. Why should I believe you without any evidence? What evidence do you need? My father's body with his fingers cut? Oh boy, what does that mean? Ritual. Interesting. If you want to say that we are thugs or something, that's just laughable. Kobayashi Corporation is just known all over the world. To think that because of a single employee? A single employee? You don't know who my father was, what he did for you. True, I don't. Ellie responded calmly. He was a scientist, a talented scientist, maybe even a genius. Then why would we kidnap him? I immediately remembered her grandfather telling me that Kagome's father had stolen the corporation's secrets. That's what I want you to tell me. Here we go again. Aren't you tired of it? Ellie addressed me. Well, her father did disappear. I responded unsurely. And what does that have to do with me? If she thinks we are at fault here, let her file a police report. Against Kobayashi Corporation, known all over the world? Kagome smirked. For the first time in the conversation, Ellie obviously realized Kagome was right about something and frowned. In any case, I know nothing about it. See nothing, hear nothing, say nothing. Another point for Kagome. Though at the start of the conversation I felt guilty for my indecisiveness, now I clearly understood that it was a bad idea to interfere. But Kagome thought otherwise. Why are you just standing there? Me? What about me? Yesterday we were there together. And by the way, he was the one who talked to your grandfather. Is that true? Ellie asked with surprise. Things kind of happened that way. I looked at Kagome, but I told you our conversation in detail. After you talk with Grandpa, do you still intend to support her nonsense? Ellie asked with indignation. I'm not really. Come on, tell her what you talked about with Kobayashi-jun yesterday. I knew perfectly well that she was right. Moreover, Ellie's grandfather had admitted that his people took Kagome's father. But what did any of this have to do with Ellie? Nothing, obviously. Not to mention, yesterday Kobayashi-jun had given me clear orders to keep an eye on Kagome's behavior, and definitely wouldn't be happy if we dragged his granddaughter into this. On the other hand, I felt an acute sense of guilt, duty, and an annoying need to do the right thing. Even if it was only the right thing from Kagome's perspective, I had to help find her father. The girls were looking at me impatiently. I had to make a decision. Oh, I'm going to support Kagome. Let's calm down for a start. Shouting and insults will get us nowhere. Spill it already. Ellie was looking at me with distrust. Fine. After all, I was simply telling the truth. I have class. Bye, Angel Love. I'll see you later. Have a good day. And don't get too bored during class. See ya. Ellie. Yesterday, your grandfather really did admit that his people had taken Kagome's father. And Mafia Babe is back. How you doing, Mafia Babe? How was your, meeting? There was a lot of crazy stuff you missed, let me tell ya. We actually visited Kobayashi Corporation. We went to the building itself, and we talked to the head honcho, too. And now these two are together. It was definitely a bad idea to mention that the latter had stolen some kind of secrets from the corporation. Oh, nice. Not only that, the leader of Kobayashi Corporation is, Ellie's grandfather. So, she's involved in all this too somehow. It was definitely a bad idea to mention that the latter had stolen some kind of secrets from the corporation. What are you saying? She wasn't really upset, just surprised. It's true, but why? Because of his work. Why else? Kagome rudely interrupted me. So what was he working on? Don't know, I'm not a scientist. Even if so, what do you want from me? Ellie asked after a pause, her voice much less certain. You could talk to your grandfather. About what? Don't you understand that I'm not privy to his business, and your story still sounds implausible? Then just try to put yourself in Kagome's shoes. How would you feel? She seemed to think about it for a moment, but then assumed a haughty expression and said, Me, in her place? Why would I? Yeah, that's just how you are. Your entire family. Burbwin heaven dwellers. She's not used to holding out a tin cup like a beggar. You! Nope, not happening. Enough already. I raised my voice. Ellie, seriously, nobody is trying to belittle you here. We simply don't know who else to turn to. Maybe her father won't be harmed. Maybe there were even reasons to take him, but that's not the point right now. Then what is? Once again, I unwittingly switched to plural, but the desire to help Kagome burned in me stronger than ever. And Ellie insisted on not understanding, not even trying to understand just what was going on. She just kept pretending to be a capricious young lady, and I was starting to get fed up with that. Even if there was nothing she could do for us to act like this, we're simply doing everything in our power. We have few prospects and absolutely no allies. And what do you care? Ellie asked with a grin. She was probably implying that if I was helping Kagome, there had to be something between us. There was no reason to dissuade her. I definitely didn't want to talk about my parents and hope that Kagome would either. How was your meeting, by the way, Mafia? Was it productive and good, and did you decide on world peace? I hope it went good. Is that so important? No, not at all, but the two of you are starting to resemble blackmailers or something. What? No, we aren't. Well, it was the first of many. The first of many. That means there's more, right? Well, good luck. Hang in there. I believe in ya. You totally are. You're demanding that I do something. What if I refuse? No, seriously. I'll have you know my bodyguards know where I am, and if I don't come back... Stop talking nonsense. I shouted. At that moment, Ellie's behavior seemed much more irrational to me than Kagome's, even though it would be foolish to deny that her words made me think, even made me scared. Seriously, what the hell were we doing? So if you don't mind, I'll go. Sadly. You'll get through it, I believe in ya. Just power through. Get the willpower. Kagome didn't respond, just silently sat there, studying the cracks on the wall with a vacant stare. I'll see you off. Listen, I'm sorry that things turned out this way. We're standing in the hallway, Allie putting on her shoes, the price of which probably equaled the monthly income of Kagome's restaurant. I'm not making any excuses, but we probably went too far. Probably. You shouldn't tell your grandpa or anyone else about this. She gave me a careful look and smiled. Why are you standing up for her like that? There are reasons. Reasons between the two of you? No, personal reasons. Fine, then your first offense is forgiven. Ciao! Ellie left the house, almost fluttering in her snow-white dress. Well, happy now? I said to Kagome as I returned to the kitchen. Yes, quite. Except we haven't achieved anything, only made things worse. Why do you think that? Because Ellie is about to tell her grandfather everything. You think he'll be happy? I think that he'll at the very least think about it. And if something happens to us after that, what will his dear granddaughter think? There was some logic to her words, and I was sure Ellie wasn't going to say anything anyway. You're so... whatever. I let out a sigh and sat down on the chair next to Kagome. But thank you for helping, especially after yesterday. Except I'm not all sure I did the right thing. In the future, let's discuss and think things through before acting, alright? In the future? She smiled. Well, we still haven't found your father, and I haven't learned what happened to your parents. That too. So you want to keep helping me? Only if you act more sensibly from now on. A terrible word making me feel psychotic or something. Kagome laughed. For the first time since we met, I felt comfortable around her. It's not about the choice of words, but their meaning. That's easy to say when you don't hear those words directed at you all the time. Are you going to keep comparing me to everyone, even after today? I will not. Not for now, at least. Why, thank you. By the way, how's your restaurant? Same as always. She responded with surprise. Why are you asking? No reason. I just thought you might be worried about the other stuff right now. It's work. Kagome shrugged. Someone has to do it. Grandpa counts on me. Our employees and customers, too. Sounds very Japanese. Is that a bad thing? No, it just seems a little weird from my point of view. Why? Well, because, I don't know. Alright, never mind. Kagome didn't respond, and I also didn't know how to continue the conversation. So what are we going to do next? Wait. Wait for what? Kobayashi-jun's reaction. We got no other options left. Are you sure he'll react? I would in his place. She responded seriously. So long then. See you at school. I wanted to see her to the station, but Kagome refused. So what would happen tomorrow? Had we even done the right thing? Had I done the right thing by allowing Kagome to interrogate Ellie? Would Ellie spill everything to her grandfather? My own troubles with the calls and the note had long faded into the background. I was convinced they were closely connected to Kagome's situation, and I would need to come back to them at some point. What does something as simple as a couch mean to a man? What is this conversation? Why are we having it? And why did I live in a traditional Japanese home with neither I nor my parents were Japanese? Even if the building itself was, say, gifted to us, or given for temporary use, the furnishing clearly shouldn't have been chosen by Mom and Dad. Were they fine even with this after the modest adornments of the Soviet Karushkivera apartments? Maybe so. Truth be told, I don't know much about interior design, but I definitely remember that our old Soviet flat had a couch. It was red with a black pattern, on springs. Jumping on those springs, I used to almost reach the ceiling. Felt like a cosmonaut on his way to the moon. Maybe I should have bought something like a couch myself, and put it in front of the TV. We too had a couch in our living room, several even, although they were very different from those from my childhood. Yet another ringing of the doorbell distracted me from the memories. What if it was a couch salesman with a fresh catalog? Oh! Sitting on my doorstep was just Michael. Hey, something happened? Definitely hadn't expected to see him here. How did he even know my address? Hey, nothing. All good? Let's go? He said in his usual even tone. Where? The movies. I sometimes found Michael's brevity tiring, even a bit maddening. Why not say everything right away and avoid the meaningless clarifying questions? He could clearly see that I had zero idea what he was talking about. Which movies? The ones we agreed to go to. I do not at all know what you were talking about. Michael let out a sigh. You were the one who asked me to go 2 weeks ago. Oh well, 2 weeks ago. For me that was like last century. I guess. So should we go? Well, let's go. I shrugged. Didn't have any plans for the evening anyway, but Michael didn't even flinch and kept looking at me. And the tickets? We can just buy them there, right? Do you not even remember what the movie's about? All the tickets are long sold out. You said you'd buy them in advance. Well, I didn't, as you can tell. Or maybe I did, but I forgot. No, I wasn't suffering from memory loss yet. I hoped. A pity. Looking at him, you wouldn't say he actually felt bad about it. There's been a hell of a lot happening lately. Want to come in? Still need to do some homework. Well, you found time for a movie. I smiled and opened the door wider, inviting him inside. Want some? I took out the bottle with the remaining whiskey. You're at school tomorrow. Yeah, as if you'd agree on any other day. Michael was on the good side of good. An exemplary straight A student. He kept himself reserved from the pleasures of life. And you shouldn't either. In a different situation, you'd be right. And if was someone else in my place? Is everything that bad? He walked to the garden and sat down on the porch. The weather cleared up after the night's rain, and the outside was dominated by real summer weather. I love to be in the countryside and nature. Me too had an entire village house with a real grandma and grandpa. Except it's been a while since I visited there. Bad. Depends on what you compare it to. Starving children in Africa probably have it worse. Is it because of Catherine? I smiled. It was funny to hear Michael call a girl he didn't know by her first name. We were still in Japan, even if not Japanese ourselves. No, different stuff. Say, what do you know about Kobayashi Ellie? Don't know her personally. Well, you must have heard something. He thought for a moment and didn't respond immediately. People say a lot about her. Why don't you ask Kyosuke? What do you think? He'd probably tell me the size of her chest, but not anything substantial. She's respected in school, even by the teachers, which don't come as a surprise. She is a Kobayashi after all, but there are rumors that things aren't all that simple with her. Not as... Michael tried to find the right word. Obvious. Gotcha. So what's so unobvious about her? Well, you, for instance, can afford to have a glass or two. And they say she has a few bad habits, too. Even with its relatively novelty, calling rock music a bad habit seemed weird. We weren't in the 60s anymore. Like what? I don't really know. I prefer not to talk about people behind their backs. Just telling you what I've heard. Everyone knows about it. Yeah, everyone besides me. Michael shrugged. And what about our class representative, Iwamura? What about her? I definitely wasn't about to tell Michael about our adventures, but I also found it difficult to pick a different reason to be interested in her. Let's say she's not a simple girl either. It is weird that you don't know anything even about your classmates. Well, that's how I am. Don't have much to say about her. You must have noticed she doesn't get along with others. I have. Wouldn't even say that get along is the most fitting term here. Yeah, I guess. I don't know anything else though. Still, thanks. For a while, we both sat there silently. Strange that you're interested in other girls when you... He faltered for a moment, which didn't happen with him often, when you got a chance to restore your relationship with Catherine. There's plenty of fish in the sea, you know. Not that I'm involved with either of them romantically. In my heart, I was grateful to Michael for the chance to talk peacefully, share something personal, and be sure that the entire school wouldn't find out about it the next day. Must be weird to hear something like that from me, huh? No, it's weirder that you've never talked about anything like that before. You mean I wasn't interested in girls? Was barely interested in anything, really. Well, I was interested in movies. I grinned stupidly. Stupider because I still didn't even remember inviting him. By the way, there's supposed to be a good movie on TV soon. Not the one we were supposed to see, but still. Want to watch it? Why not? When Michael left, the city had already been engulfed by the soft embrace of the unusually warm autumn night. I had no desire to sleep, and, warmed by the alcohol, went to look for an adventure. The adventure awaited me behind the doors of the familiar bar. Inside it was loud, filled with smoke, and reeked of booze. Oh. And apparently, we saw this already. And there's Irina. There's Irene. There she is. Yay! Kagome's father and Kobayashi Corporation, having them believe as much as was already enough. Nikolai. Alright. Kagome, what did you drag me into? Yeah, we know the Irina stuff already. We've seen her. We've seen her plenty of times. What does a paperback ink smell like? What are these questions? It smells like the freshly painted walls of a hospital, an administrative building, or something utilitarian. It smells like the hectic rhythm of a big city. You know her. Yeah. Irene is back again. Mafia. She's returned. You can't fit Joyce Steinbeck, Devosky, or Kobo Abe into the tiny pages of a paperback, which turn yellow after just a couple months. Their thoughts expressed in sweeping prose would be stunted and suffocated by the uneven, ugly lines. I much preferred solid, massive books with hard covers. Just holding them in your hands, feeling their weight, is enough to guess at the endless wisdom hidden inside. But Japanese people like everything fast and simple, and have eagerly exported their convenience to other countries of the free world. What would Leo Tolstoy have said if he saw War and Peace retold in manga form? Of course, this arrogant attitude didn't fit my current situation at all. It's easy to engage in intellectual snobbery when the most danger you face in life is an argument over Jack Kerouac. But I was being threatened by a very real and, more importantly, very much alive people. First Kobayashi Corporation and now the KGB too. I guess somewhere deep inside I wanted to restore my connection to the motherland, but I couldn't imagine, even in the worst of my nightmares, that the motherland not only remembered me, but had also been monitoring my life for the last 10 years. But the image of a sword-wielding woman grew hazy and soon faded away entirely, together with the dream, when I was snapped awake by the doorbell. I immediately jumped off the bed, aimlessly looked around my room, as if it was the first time I'd seen it. Everything was in order, but everything also seemed alien and somewhat artificial, like a copy, or like Crime and Punishment, squeezed into the tiny body of a paperback. After a minute, I already decided it had been part of my dream too, the bell rang again. Think. Trying to rev up my still sleeping brave. Trekkers don't use doorbells. This time, though slightly calm me down, I walked to the door on stiff legs. Who's there? My voice was trembling, bad enough that it wouldn't go unnoticed. Who's there? I repeated when I didn't get an answer. Nico-kun! Jesus, he scared me. I opened the door and found Himitsu behind it, seemingly no less scared than I. Why'd you ring? Well, you locked yourself. I locked myself? At first I couldn't understand what she was talking about. After all, Himitsu had the key. Then I looked at the bolt I had locked firmly yesterday. What time is it? It's time to go to school! Nico-kun, is everything alright with you? Yes. I tried to smile, but did a shooter job of it. Just not very used to being woken up by my doorbell. Himitsu carefully walked after me to the kitchen and looked around like she'd broken into the house. What? I exploded. Do you think I'm hiding someone here? No, just... truly terrifying. The doorbell? The doorbell is evil. No, just... I'm actually a bootlegger, and I make moonshine in the basement. Nico-kun, you don't have a basement. Alright. That's awkward. Himitsu was making breakfast while I sat behind the table feeling my armpits drip with sweat. So Irina had told me to behave normally. In any other context, nothing would be easier. For almost a year and a half now, I'd been surviving in a semi-vegetative state, not least because of Himitsu, but now having met Ellie and Kagome, and having been granted an audience by Kobayashi Jun himself, was there anything normal left in my life? It was stupid to think that everything would just get back to normal, as if following the wave of a magic wand. And then there was Catherine. Nico-kun! Himitsu called out to me, indignant. What? I'm asking, do you want toast with jam or butter? Well, what, we have jam? You don't. She pouted, but I brought some. I didn't even notice whether she had a bag or a purse in her hands. Well, jam then. Hey, welcome back, Geekin' Rat. What's up? Enjoying the story, or whatever you're saying of the story? Jam then. I found it hard to force myself to eat, but I also didn't want to provoke further questions from Himitsu. It's delicious. Thanks. By the way, do you remember the school festival is coming up, right? No, the festival was the last thing on my mind. I felt like a lone wolf avoiding other people. Of course, wolves are weaker than tigers or lions, but they don't perform at festivals. So what are you guys preparing? Well, we were thinking we'd organize a cafe. She responded, embarrassed. A cafe? Yeah, that's a good idea. A maid uniform will look great on you. Why'd you assume I'd be a waitress? Himitsu asked with indignation, even placing her chopsticks down on her plate. Won't you? Maybe. If you want, I was actually going to cook. Oh, okay then. Naturally, I wasn't interested in the conversation in the least, but Himitsu seemed to find my opinion important. So, do you want me to wear that costume? If that's what you want. Nico-kun! What? What's the right answer? Don't you dare even come to our class. And who will stop me? Then I won't step out of the kitchen. Alright, guess I'll check out the other girls. Your class has some good ones. Nico-kun! You bore! You managed to distract yourself for a while, but once we were out in the street, I was seized with an incomprehensible fear. Felt like every lamppost had a KGB agent, or one of the corporation's people, or maybe they'd already formed a queue to plant a bullet in my forehead. We didn't get to school too late or too early, and were just in time to meet Himitsu's classmates. She had stuff to do, and my only task for the time being was to behave normally, which more or less meant doing nothing, just existing. Of course, it could seem like I was lazing about, but on the cellular level, I was extremely busy. As always, Kyosuke greeted me merrily once I got to class. Well, Nick, how was your weekend? To be honest, I wish I spent it differently. Did something happen? Tell me. Imagine you go to an onsen with your family, only to find it's been taken over by terrorists. Probably clicked this already. Alright, the hot springs. I have no clue what you're talking about, but I already want to hear every detail. At that moment, Kagome entered the classroom and, with her head cast down, slipped over to my desk. Wanted to talk to her, of course, but I wasn't sure I'd be able to hide yesterday's conversation with Irina. With how impulsive she was, knowing about it wouldn't do her any good. But besides the impulsiveness, Kagome had also had an inquisitive acumen, and the very thought of her drilling glare made me feel uncomfortable. Come on, Nick, the bell's about to ring, asked my secretary. And after these words, the lesson finally started. But I still hadn't managed to come up with a way to talk to Kagome. The last meeting hadn't exactly gone very well, even though I'd taken her side in the argument with Ellie, and I couldn't get Ellie's upset face out of my mind. I was both blaming myself and taking part on a part of Kagome's guilt. After all, it happened in my house, and as the host, it was my responsibility. As for Kagome, I didn't think she'd leave me alone at any time soon, so we'd had plenty of opportunities to talk. Thanks to Kyosuke, I knew which class Ellie was in, but that didn't make my task any easier. Looking from the outside, and nobody would call me unsociable, rude, maybe, or even insensitive. But I was good at avoiding unfamiliar situations and new people, which made me appear confident. And of course, someone who does nothing makes no mistakes. In any case, the thought of walking into another classroom and possibly talking to Ellie in front of everyone made me feel uneasy. It'd be one thing that if she was a normal girl like Himitsu or Kagome. Luckily, I didn't find Ellie there, and nobody even glanced at me. Everyone had their own problems to worry about, of course. I was about to go back when I remembered that she had a part of the school all to herself. Of course! I heard the chords of one of Z Feel Z's songs from the old classroom. Got you. I stormed into the room and saw Ellie, caught off guard, almost dropped her guitar. Are you out of your mind? Okay, sorry. I really didn't know what had gotten into me. The impulse had spurred me to action before my prefrontal cortex had realized what was happening. By the way, since I haven't been introduced properly, Ellie immediately interrupted me. I heard that girl, what was her name, Iwamura, calling you Nick. That's enough for me. Yeah, of course, what was I expecting? What are you mumbling there? I said my name is Nikolai, but yeah, you can call me Nick. So, Nick, to what do I owe the honor? Are you going to interrogate me again? She put a guitar on the piano, opened the curtains, and looked out of the window as if expecting to see someone outside. Wanted to apologize for yesterday, so you don't think I have something against you. I don't. So that suddenly, Ellie turned to me and smiled cutely and very unexpectedly. Well then, it's just, Kagome Iwamura, she really is in a difficult situation. Suddenly, I felt a bit uncomfortable for being alone with this girl. Tried to loosen the knot of my tie, but it was almost undone anyway. I felt sorry for her, but as I've already said, I can't help you two. Not you two, not two, it's not us. Been protecting her with such passion, I thought. She gave me a sly look. Oh, do forgive me if I was mistaken. There's nothing between us, if that's what you mean. We didn't even know each other until a week ago. Aren't you in the same class? How is that possible? It just is, I grumbled. Talk to me a little longer and you'll see a lot of things you'll never thought possible. Okay, Nick, to be honest, I also overreacted yesterday. No, you didn't. Ellie raised her hand sternly, ordering me to not to interrupt her. If a girl wants to apologize, you better hear her out. It doesn't happen every day. As you say, Ojo-sama, so I understand that your friend's issues are somehow related to my grandfather's business. But you should also understand that I'm not your personal customer support. If everyone who had a problem with my grandfather tried to go through me, I hope you understand. I do, and I did tell Iwamura that she shouldn't have done that, but the situation still just didn't feel right, and it was bugging me. After all, this was about a human life, not a broken TV. But what? Nothing, forget it. Oh no, finish what you started. Sometimes she's so hard to talk to. Just wanted to say that those are different situations, and in some, you should try putting yourself in the other person's shoes. If I always have to worry about other people, when am I supposed to live for myself? Ain't she an Ayn Rand? So you don't care that a person is missing? Killed, maybe? I finally lost my temper and raised my voice. Are people dying every minute? I was looking at her beautiful, fair face. I couldn't understand whether this was cynicism or something else, but it's in your power to help some of them. Even if I could. She suddenly perked up. How do you know if she's telling the truth? I talked to your grandfather in person. How do I know that you aren't lying? Why would I? Why? She said it like she was weighing the word on her tongue. What if you need something from me? Like what? Money, status, power, the same things everyone needs. What if you're thinking about? Ali got completely flustered and blushed. Do I look like the kind of person to think that far ahead? She carefully examined me from head to toe and smirked. Yeah, you don't. I was glad that the tension seemed to have subsided somewhat. You come here often, huh? I like to keep that between us. Sure. I get enough of an audience at my concerts. Suddenly, Ellie appeared like a very lonely, simple, and understandable girl to me. What? What happened? What did she do? Or what did I do? I guess it's hard to be the center of attention. I guess. I found it hard to even step into your classroom today. I don't know what I'm saying, why I'm saying that. She's funny. Ellie, you're funny, you know that? You're funny. She didn't respond, but the blush on her cheeks looked to me like it expressed gratitude. Alright, I'd better go. Hope your friend finds her father. Hope so too. I didn't want to tell her that Kagome clearly wasn't done with her, and this most likely wasn't our last conversation. I returned to the classroom right before the bell rang and took my seat. My eyes naturally shifted to Catherine, who was sitting close, looking out the window with a bored expression on her face. Oh no, not this again. Relationship, cute to deal with, maybe uncomfortable. Yeah, these bits I don't like of the game. It's just a big wall of text, and I just don't like this for some reason. Just have it normal, you know what I mean? Well, read this to yourself, fellas. I'm gonna read it to myself as well. And enjoy the music, too. Excuse me. Hang on a minute. So much to read. I know, right? It's like it's like an actual book. I patiently waited until the end of the day. I didn't want to bother her during a break. After all, such a conversation requires more time. I was standing at the school gate, shifting my weight from one foot to the other. I had run out of the class with the last bell, so this time there was no sign I'd missed Katya. I never found the appropriate words to start the conversation. Not that it really mattered. After all, the topic remained the same. Students were passing by, paying no attention to me. It's a visual novel. Yeah, but the wall of text feels like an actual book, though. I don't want to read an actual book. I want to read the visual novel. Alone in a couples, even in groups. Frowning, laughing, and chatting with each other. Staring at their feet and noticing no one. Angry and seemingly upset with someone. And with welcoming smiles on their faces. Why is it that if you're rich, you're necessarily also handsome to boot? Except for Kyosuke and me. That seemed to be the case for the majority of students in our school, as if there was an invisible slot machine only equipping the chosen few, dealing out advantage after advantage. And when was it that the turn of simpler people you'd get lucky to at least get away with good health? Well, I had, at least physically. Nico-kun! There was Himitsu. Should have realized that her classes were over too. Nico-kun, are you waiting for someone? Yeah, no, well, My determination seemed to have vanished at once. In front of Himitsu, I felt like some idiot telling his mother he was going to go into university because his dream was to flip penguins at the South Pole. His mind was made, but his mom was sure to be upset. No worries, I'm interrupting something then. You're not interrupting anything. Here you are. As if Himitsu weren't enough, Kagome was approaching me determinedly. We need to talk. Iwamura-senpai. Oh, seems like I've interrupted something. I won't keep him busy for long, she told Himitsu. Himitsu in turn gave me a questioning look. A minute ago, I was about to start sorting out my relationship with Catherine. 30 seconds ago, I was trying to figure out how not to upset Himitsu while doing that. I was taken aback by Kagome's assault. You know, not everything in the world revolves around you and your problems. Not everyone just waits for you to pay attention to them, ready to drop everything and run after you as soon as you call them. But my voice didn't sound very confident. So what are you so busy with that's more important than this? But then she also grew embarrassed, casting a quick glance at Himitsu. Of course, Kagome was right in her own way, and I was just afraid to hurt someone, trying to have my foot in 2 worlds at the same time, or maybe even 3 or 4. I had to make a choice. Obviously, not everything in my life revolved around Himitsu, and not all my thoughts were about Catherine. However, before moving forward, one had to understand what they had to leave behind. Didn't know what Kagome had come up with this time, and I wasn't in the mood to try and guess. Nevertheless, her unshakable confidence in herself and her own righteousness was somewhat spellbinding. Sorry, timidly said to Himitsu. I'll wait for you at home. Then she replied after a moment and walked away, leaving us alone. Are you happy now? Asked Kagome, irritated. I didn't force you. She huffed in response. So what do you want to talk about? Not here. Where then? I was impotently walking after Kagome, not a thought in my head, like a sheep following a shepherd's dog. The park! After some time, we found ourselves in the park. That very park so many memories of mine were tied to. Catherine and I used to come here often. She always told me she enjoyed the silence and the opportunity to be alone. Meanwhile, it seemed to me sometimes that she just was embarrassed to be in public together. Anyway, I didn't talk to Catherine today, and it was Iwamura's fault. I finally raised my eyes and looked at her back. Isn't this enough? What's enough? She slowed her pace and turned around. This place again. We're in the park. The lovely park. With all of the trees and grass and all that stuff. And the lovely bridge and the waters. We're far enough from the school. I doubt there's a spy with a camera hiding behind every bush. Don't you just love your sarcasm? Ha ha! Ha ha ha! We stopped on a little curved bridge over the small spring that met a lake. This is nice, isn't it? Just chillin' with the girl number 3. Kagome leaned on the railing and stared at the water. I didn't know there was a park here. So you were just walking randomly? Yes. She gave me a cute and somewhat childish smile. The first yellow leaves were reluctantly falling off the trees. One of them, however, deftly glided down into the Kagome's head and got stuck in her hair, but she didn't notice. Oh, there it is right there. You see it? You look like a sensible person sometimes, but that's only a front, isn't it? This is a Kirby? A what? What's a Kirby? Did I say something weird? Gotta do that a lot. What do you mean? Never mind. What do you want to talk about? I think we have no other choice but to pressure Kobayashi's granddaughter. She really emphasized that we. But, wait, let me finish. Kagome raised her hands sternly. I know what you want to say, that she knows nothing, and I'm only making the situation worse. But look at this from a different angle. Even if her grandfather finds out that we set our sights on her, what's wrong with that? I said Kirby. Oh, I don't know if I did or not. That's the brain damage talking. Just random words that I meant to say turn out to be something else. That's the curse of Ultima. There's so much wrong that I don't even know where to begin. You have to shatter their delusions of omnipotence. That's the only way we'll achieve anything. I couldn't figure out if she was serious or not. Of course, there was no reason to suspect Kagome of being delusionally maniacal. But then what was this? Youthful exuberance? Shatter. Delusions of omnipotence? Are you listening to yourself? All I can imagine is that guy from Kobayashi Jun's office shattering my face. You're just scared. Yes, I am, aren't you? She suddenly frowned as if I'd said something very offensive. I don't let fear control my life. And you're just being reckless, albeit consciously. So are you going to help me or not? What am I even supposed to do? First talk to that. Kagome clearly had problems with calling people by their names. Ellie, I prompted. Yes, to that Ellie. It's clear that she won't listen to me, but you're quite her type. She smirked sarcastically. What are you implying? Just feminine intuition. Somehow I didn't want to pry into what the intuition was telling her. Why do you think things will go differently this time? As I see it, Ellie clearly let us know that she can't help. But she hasn't even tried. At least ask her, I don't know, to do something. Talk to her grandfather or anyone else who has real power. Why would she listen to me? Convince her. How? I don't know. I'll come up with something. She got angry and stomped her foot. The school of fish swimming by immediately dashed away. For whatever reason, you overestimate my persuasiveness. Or you underestimate the impression you've made on her. When have I ever? On the other hand, Kagome was a girl too, despite how she acted. So maybe she had a better feel for this stuff. And if she was trying to say that, I suddenly felt blood surging to my face and turned away. You don't understand what you're asking. Why? If things go well enough, you might end up the son-in-law of the richest man in Japan. I'm going through a rough patch right now, and I haven't been planning on starting a new relationship, even if just for purely selfish reasons. I don't understand, guys. Don't you like her? I do, but I mean, being attracted to someone's appearance isn't all there is to it. Look at this tender soul. Imagine that. Started to feel uncomfortable in my presence of this persistent girl. What if Kobayashi Jun had a grandson, huh? Then what? As far as I know, homosexuality isn't a crime in Japan. Stop joking around. Wouldn't you go down on that hypothetical grandson if you needed to? Kagome tried to hold my angry look, but buckled and lowered her head. I don't see the point in talking about things that don't exist. How convenient. Is that a no? I'll talk to her, but I'm not promising anything else. That seemed like the only way to stop this idiotic conversation. And from now on, please stop with these dumb ideas. Cheers! Cheers! I basically ran away from Kagome, feeling on the other hand extremely offended, and on the other inexplicably ashamed as if my parents had caught me. Maybe in another situation I'd even feel good about the idea that I might end up in a relationship with Kobayashi Ellie, but not now, when I was in real danger and Catherine had returned to Japan. Ayo, I know. What's with this game? I swear. I was walking home, purposefully choosing the longest route. Home, with Himitsu ready to interrogate me. Home, with the old life that Ellie and Kagome were so desperately trying to turn on its head. I didn't know if that was what Kagome was trying to achieve, but the very thought that my mind that things could be different, that not everything had to be tied to Himitsu or Catherine was stuck firmly in my mind. That is crazy. I know. This game be crazy. Let me tell ya. Naturally, the lights were on. What else could I expect? I tried to open the door as quietly as possible, take off my shoes, sneak into the kitchen. I always wondered what Himitsu did alone. It seemed like without me, she was in kind of superstition. It seemed like without me, she was in the same kind of superposition. We had seen each other that afternoon at the school gate when Kagome took me away. Now it was evening and I was home. Did anything exist between those 2 points in space and time? Did Himitsu? Nico-kun, why are you creeping around? Well, then today was not the day I would find out. Wanted to surprise you. Thanks, you already did this afternoon. Himitsu replied in a tone that made it clear she was upset. Do you want to talk about it? I sat down next to her with surprise, noticed that the table was empty, the stove was cold, and all the pots and pans were in their places. I don't know. Should we? If you think we should. Nico-kun, I can see something's happened. That senpai came over to your place on Saturday, and today you two just went out somewhere in the middle of the day? In the middle of the day. I grumbled. You're saying that we're like some sort of conspiracy. I don't know, Nico-kun. What were you talking about with Iramura senpai today? It looked like she had something important to discuss with you. Something important? Kagome? I smirked, but immediately caught myself. Sure, Himitsu knew that I wasn't a big fan of Japanese formalities, but some degree of familiarity, forgivable under different circumstances, toward a girl could really backfire on me. However, she didn't seem to notice, or at least pretended to. I mean, that's just something about school. Himitsu would never believe that. You're hiding something from me. Something happened in the past few days, but you don't want to tell me. What could possibly have happened in my life? Although that wasn't true. Even from her point of view, Catherine's return alone wasn't enough. That's what I want you to tell me. She suddenly raised her voice. Sure, I didn't want to drag Himitsu into my problems. I was afraid she'd end up in danger too, but it was getting more and more difficult to lie and come up with excuses under her intense glare. There's nothing between us, if that's what you mean. That's not what I mean. I understand that Catty-chan is the only thing you can think about right now. Not really. Catherine, no, yes, of course I think about her. How can't I? Who wouldn't in my place? Maybe it really would be easier this way. Is this skippable? Nope. And you asked Iwamura-senpai for help, the same way you helped her that time. Even if that was the case, I wouldn't compare the two situations. I had no idea how Kagome would have been able to help me with Catherine, but since Himitsu came to this conclusion herself, it would be a bad tactic to convince her of anything else. Guilty as charged. Sorry. See, Nico-kun, you can't hide anything from me. Mitsu exclaimed gleefully. That seemed like a very inappropriate reaction to me. If you really wanted someone to talk to Catty-chan, you could have asked me. But I had witnessed them talking to each other just a few days ago, and I couldn't say it sounded anything like a conversation between friends who hadn't seen each other in a while. Don't you think it would be a bit inappropriate to ask you to talk with Catherine? And, well, talk about what? Well, what did you ask Iwamura-senpai to talk with her about? What did I ask Iwamura-senpai to talk with her about? Slowly repeated, drawing out each word, as if hoping to find the time to come up with a decent answer. Nico-kun! Mitsu frowned and came closer. I quickly moved back and flicked aside. Well, you know, Catherine doesn't want to talk to me, and Kagome isn't someone she knows, or at least not someone she had a fight with yet. I was positive it would only take a couple of minutes if they ever got to know each other. It's not an answer. What did you want to talk to them about? Just an interrogation or something. You'll have something later. For now, answer the question, please. Should have softened her tone, but somehow that made me even angrier. I'm not obligated to report to you what I talk about and with who. Even if I was trying to protect her, that sounded cruel. Felt like the captain of an old ship caught in a storm. I was doing my best spinning the wheel, but my small craft just couldn't hold out against the wrath of the raging waves. Sunshine, I don't want to upset you, but there are things, serious things, dangerous things. This isn't the time to talk about them. Dangerous things, Nico-kun? What have you gotten yourself into? I haven't gotten myself into anything. Can you just believe me that everything is going to be alright? But I can't tell you the details right now. It just has to be like this. Nico-kun! Himitsu was fidgeting in her chair, clearly nervous. I suddenly felt hot, so I jumped off the chair, walked to the garden door, and opened it. So you and Iwamura-senpai weren't talking about Kari-chan? I didn't know what to say. Just a minute ago, it had seemed like a nice idea, but now the entire lie has come apart ahead of its time. Nico-kun? What? I turned around and looked at Himitsu. She was about to break into tears. I can't tell you more. You shouldn't know more. As soon as I can. Are you in danger? Of course. Oh no, of course not. Then why? Why all these mysteries? I want to help. There's nothing you can do to help me. Then I better go. She stood up and slowly walked out. I kept looking out at the moonlight-filled garden. Ah, that went well. I didn't know if I had done the right thing by hiding the truth from Himitsu. One thing was for sure, she wouldn't be able to help me in any way, but things would have gotten much more tense. There would be crying, whining, interrogations, although things could also go completely differently. For now, I was alone with my problems and only had Kagome to talk to, and I was hiding a lot from her as well. And all these conversations weren't making me any calmer. That besides, Himitsu didn't make dinner. At times I noticed with some annoyance that hunger came from at the least appropriate moments. When you need to sit and think things through calmly, to concentrate on the problem, your stomach starts demanding attention that is desperately needed somewhere elsewhere. Feeling like Diogenes rudely thrown out of his barrel, I opened the fridge in search of something to make dinner with. When a person is hungry, they often want to eat not a salad or an apple, but a very specific set of products, fatty, sweet, salty ones, and their derivatives. That's just how we have evolved. But if you just stuff yourself with enough bread, you will also eventually get full. I've always been annoyed by the unfairness of it. The difference between how you feel before an acute desire to experience all the wonders of the culinary world, and after, indifference to food, and sometimes even pain from overeating. I was not a talented cook. I wasn't even at the level of your average housewife. My fridge and shelves, like fighters on the home front, were unprepared for a culinary battle with an unknown enemy. In the end, I had to finish satisfaction in instant noodles. I was idly poking the cold noodles around with my chopsticks when, for who knows what reason, the ring of a doorbell broke the silence of my house. And my clock was about to hit 12. Too late for any guess. But the thought that the KGB or the corporation's goons don't give any warning before their visit somewhat calmed me down. Who is this? Who's this, Mafia? Do you know who this is? And indeed, the person standing at the doorstep was Catherine. What a pleasant surprise. I sat and looked at the street past her shoulder. And there was no one here. No one out there. You don't look particularly excited. Katya was shifting from one foot to another. It was clear she hadn't come from a cup of bedtime tea, an exchange in school gossip. Just wasn't expecting you. Wasn't expecting anyone so late. Shall I leave? She asked impatiently, not hiding her irritation. No, I'm sorry. Please come in. Having entered the kitchen, Catherine carefully looked around, as if it was a museum. It's like nothing's changed here. What were you expecting? Me? Nothing. She turned around, glanced at me, and smiled. I take it you wanted to talk at school? I didn't know how to respond. Sometimes it was surprising how sharp she was. Sometimes it was scary. But then you found something more important to do. With our class representative, she added, saying the last words with particular disgust. Are you spying on me? Yeah, can't I? Katya replied without any sign of embarrassment. I'm flattered. It was starting to seem like the conversation was going the wrong way, as if I had been ripped out of reality and wasn't subject to the laws of nature anymore. At the moment, I had more urgent, more important, even essential matters to deal with, and Catherine was flirting with me like the year and a half we had spent apart never happened. I still don't understand what you're trying to get at. Do I need a reason to come here? Maybe you do. I said quietly. Himitu doesn't. I was looking at Katya and couldn't figure out what was on her mind. On the one hand, of course I was happy that she came, and of her own accord too. But on the other, she was clearly here for a reason. Himitu didn't disappear from my life for years. Is that resentment I hear? Yes, that's exactly it. The words rolled off my tongue by themselves, paying no attention to my brain. A part of me desperately wanted to just jump on Catherine, kiss her, take her to the floor next to the kotatsu. But another voice was quietly yet persistently whispering that she was a very different person from the one I used to know and love. Outwardly, Katya had barely changed after all this time, but for some reason, I had the unshakable feeling that I had let a stranger in. Well, apparently I'm not welcome here. She turned around and was about to leave, but I grabbed her by the hand. Wait, I didn't want to offend you, but you must know how this looks from my perspective. You leave without even saying goodbye, then you come back and don't want to talk, and now you're here, acting as if nothing's happened. How do you think I'm supposed to react? Catherine gave it a moment's thought and sat on a chair and fixed her hair with an elegant gesture. I guess you're right, I just didn't know how to start a conversation or how to act. Although, to be honest, she didn't look particularly perplexed. Conversation about what? A week ago, you found a note on your porch. A note? I said slowly. So you were the one who wrote it. What about the handwriting? What handwriting? Catherine was finally surprised. In your notebook. I flipped through your notebook during break when no one could see. You're sure that was my notebook? What? I borrowed one from a classmate to copy the material. Oh, so? I exhaled and powerlessly sunk onto the chair opposite from her. Katya, but why? I wanted to warn you, but apparently you don't need my warnings. And you know well enough how and who you should talk with. But why? Why not just tell me directly? Well, I am telling you now, and how is it helping? I shouldn't have come here in the first place. No, you've started, but be so kind as to finish. Who's after me? What do you know about my father's work? Ah, so now you're interested in... She flashed her eyes and leaned toward me. Katya, what is this childish resentment? If you know something, please tell me. I suddenly felt terribly uncomfortable about how close we were. Her face was only half a meter away from mine. Sure. She moved away abruptly, crossing her arms over her chest and crossed her legs. The very first day we returned to Japan, I overheard my mom's conversation on the phone. It was talking about you and your parents. And the conversation wasn't a calm one. It's obvious you're in danger. Oh, great. I'm in danger. Again. And that's it? I smirked impotently. What else do you want to hear? That's all you can tell me? You didn't even bother to ask your mother what's going on? I talked to her. She asked me to stay out of it and told me it had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you? I exhaled. You know what? I agree with her on that. It really doesn't concern you. And you've demonstrated your attitude by planting a note. A fucking note with a bunch of mistakes, Katya. Don't shout at me. What were you expecting after that? I suddenly caught myself. Wasn't this why Catherine couldn't bring herself to come to my place and talk to me openly? Because she was expecting this kind of reaction? Sorry, I didn't want to shout at you. That's the problem. What? You act first and think later. A second ago I intended to be more reserved, but Catherine managed to kill that intention with a single sentence. And you, do you think much before you act? Wonder how many hours it took you for you to decide to ditch me without even saying goodbye. Her face finally trembled and Katya looked like she was about to cry. I sent a letter, that's enough. What else could I do? It has everything. Ah, the letter. I jumped up and marched to my room. Here, take it and sign here. I returned with the unopened letter and threw it at Catherine. The recipient turned out to be unavailable. So you haven't even read it? As you can see. Is that so? Suddenly, your face broke into a little smile. Her reaction appeared pretty strange to me, but I was too angry to pay closer attention to it. Yes, it is. Okay, then. She stood up and straightened out her skirt with careful motion. Nothing else you want to say? I've said enough. Everything I know. If I learn anything else, I'll tell you. You can find the front door yourself. Good night. She bid me farewell in an appropriately polite tone. When the door closed behind Katya, I dropped to my chair like a sack of potatoes. It was too much for one day. Yeah, we all know what the letter said. Her goodbye letter. Exhausted, I barely reached the bed and fell onto it without taking my clothes off. Oh, it's the 15th. I was dreaming that Catherine and I were driving along the Great Canyon, fearlessly looking out into the abyss. I was sitting behind the wheel of the kind of open-top SUV you'd see in movies set on the savannah, with Catherine next to me in the passenger seat. The day was unbelievably hot. I was wearing an off-white burlap shirt and a pith helmet, while Catherine had on a sky blue dress and an enormous hat she had to constantly hold with her hand so that it wouldn't fly away with the wind. We were talking happily about something, but in the dream, I couldn't tell exactly what happened. And then suddenly, the SUV's wheels dropped into a pit, and there we were, flying down to the bottom of the ravine from the height of several hundred meters. If I'm not mistaken, moments like these are when people start to pray. Woke up to find myself covered in sweat, as were my pillows and sheets, but that dream, so vivid in my first moments awake, had almost completely faded away after I had half an hour of a hot shower. Damn it, I haven't even been to the States. Yesterday's conversation with Catherine left a bitter aftertaste, like a hangover hitting at the least appropriate moment. Is there an appropriate moment for a hangover? Sure, I was glad that despite everything she cared about me and, albeit awkwardly, was trying to warn me. But I couldn't shake the feeling Catherine was doing so out of a sense of obligation more than sympathy. I wouldn't dare use the word love, even in my thoughts. For me, you could accuse Katya of many things, but indifference and cruelty weren't among them. Sure, maybe a lot of what she said or what she did wasn't necessarily for the right reasons. She did it more of her own image than for some actual moral principles. But it's better to do good for selfish reasons than to condone evil by indifference. And there was still the matter of my feelings for her. And what I was feeling at this exact moment, after I had learned about the note, the strangest thing was somewhere on the edge of my conscious self, I was thinking that the note itself hadn't changed much. Something had broken inside me even before. I guess when I saw her entering the classroom wearing a uniform with a nonchalant expression on her face. After that, if someone told me she was a CIA agent, I wouldn't have been too surprised. In any case, I had to make a decision. I couldn't just keep existing in suspension, hanging between her infinite coldness and my feeble attempts to move on. But recently, I had found new, rather unexpected issues to deal with, along with new relationships I hadn't been looking for, that have turned everything upside down in such a short time, and God only knew what would follow. It was still quite early, but I decided to go to school without waiting for Himitsu, although after yesterday, she could very well not be coming in the first place. Kagome stood at the school gate, tapping her foot impatiently. Ah, here you are. Well, at least you're on time. How long have you been lying here in ambush? Long enough to get bored of it. You could have waited for me in the classroom. I couldn't. She suddenly grew embarrassed and looked down, but immediately jumped in place and grabbed me by the arm. Let's go! I limply followed her. There was no point in arguing or telling her how inappropriate her behavior was. We're on the roof. Naturally, Kagome brought me to the roof. So? What? Getting anywhere? With what? You're starting this all over again. Jesus, starting what? It's been half a day. What could have changed? You know, sometimes just a few minutes can be enough. Well, something did, in fact, happen. Yeah, Catherine happened. Catherine's visit, the exchange about the note. Hang on a minute. Okay. Wasn't sure whether I was supposed to tell Kagome about this. On one hand, it had nothing to do with her. On the other, people threatening me because of my father's work were probably related to Kobayashi Corporation. And the corporation's goons had kidnapped her father. In a different situation, I'd have thought that this information was just my business, and there was no need to share it with anyone else, but looking at this strange girl, I somehow felt guilty about hiding the truth. You know, something did in fact happen. Is that so? Kagome brightened up and moved even came closer. The girl who transferred to our class recently, Catherine, her mother is a diplomat. At least I used to think so. Anyway, Catherine told me that I'm in danger and being watched by powerful people. The corporation? She doesn't know anything besides that. She must find out. Look, not everyone is as childishly bold and straightforward as you are. Some people cherish their lives. Yeah, right. She scoffed and turned away. When it's about that, men lose their mind. What? Nobody was even talking about that. Unexpectedly, even for myself, I got embarrassed. But you're protecting her. I just don't want innocent people to be flattered by your runaway, truth-seeking steamroller. Is she that innocent? Catherine. I stopped mid-sentence. Had that thought really only just come to mind? Why would I trust every word Katya said? To an extent, she had more reasons to lie to me than Kagome did. She had already ditched me once without saying a word, clearly showing I'm worthless to her. And if her mother was somehow related to my parents' death, Kobayashi Corporation, and God knows what else, why couldn't she just be helping her? I don't know. Excellent. That was the first smart thing you've said today. Kagome beamed. By the way, I have news too. Good news, I hope. I managed to find my father's colleague, Ichinose-san. We tried to reach him on Saturday. Fine. So? I arranged a meeting with him tonight in the waterfront. You're coming with me. Unless, of course, you have anything more urgent, say a date with an American. Look, do you think I'm just playing around here? Honestly, lately it feels like my life took a wrong turn somewhere, and that everything happened now somehow goes against the Akashic Records. Universal events. Yeah, I know all about this. Are you surprised that I'd have to have Catherine's back, to have everything back the way it was? Doesn't seem weird at all to me, but I don't live in a vacuum and have to consider other people's feelings, even if I don't agree with them. And Kobayashi Corporation doesn't give a damn about my feelings, so trust me, I know how to set priorities. Kagome looked me right in the eye without blinking, her face growing more and more serious as I talked. When I finally stopped and caught my breath, she kept silent for a bit longer. Hope you really mean it. Don't forget, we meet tonight at the waterfront. After she left, I long looked out at Tokyo in autumn, filled with people in gray suits, each forced to take into consideration an unaccountable number of other people. School was freaking boring again. Classes were going slowly. Every minute lasted at least an hour, and an hour feeling like a day. Kyosuke was unusually quiet. Eventually, I even wanted him to bother me with his traditional pointless talk, just to drive away the malaise. Catherine was sitting behind me. I couldn't see her, but I was confident that she was just as bored, looking out at the window. By the window, meanwhile, was Kagome, carefully transcribing everything the teacher was saying, fully focused on the lesson. How could they switch from one thing to another so quickly? Whether it was idle observation or their studies. Yes, my psyche was too reactive, and I usually needed too much time to recover from any problems in life. But was such calmness normal either? If it was as if they were changing gears? During lunch, I suddenly felt I couldn't bear staying in the classroom where everyone except me had a stable psyche. I was pointlessly wandering around the school and came to my senses only when I found myself in front of the music room in the old wing. Instead of piercing guitar chords, I heard the pacifying sounds of a piano coming from it, like gentle waves crashing on a tropical beach. Is it piano time? I froze in the doorway, listening to it. Ellie seemed to be playing a piece of classical music, but it sounded completely alien to me. Finally, she closed the piano lid and stood up. I didn't want to interrupt you. I entered the classroom. You again? How long have you been eavesdropping? I haven't. I suddenly recalled Kagome's words. She was, in fact, provoking me to deepen my relationship with Ellie. After yesterday's conversation with Catherine, the thought scared me even more than usual. If it was the end and Catherine really no longer cared for me, I really would have to move on. Start a new relationships, among other things. Doesn't it usually happen like that by pure accident? Kids, Mom and I met each other when she spilled juice on me in a canteen. Hey, are you still here? Sorry, got lost in thought. About what? Well, about nothing, really. I didn't know what to say and looked away. I definitely had an easier time talking to Kagome, and it wasn't just about social status. After all, Ellie was just as much of a schoolgirl as all the others in this building. Until she graduated from university and got some high-ranking position in the corporation from her grandfather, she only potentially deserved a special treatment. But the stereotypes that had been a part of Japanese culture for thousands of years were strong, and I couldn't help but be affected by them too. Even though to an extent I couldn't give a damn about Ellie's ancestry now. When I was imagining there being something between us, I felt different. God damn it, Kagome! Are you going to interrogate me again? And where's your raving friend? Look, Ellie, Relax, I'm joking. She suddenly laughed and flashed a smile that would never make you suspect her to be the evil heir to a criminal empire. I've been seeing you here almost every day lately, but before I'd meet the cleaning lady twice a year. I like the way you play. Do you play anything? I used to play bass, dropped it though. Wow, were you in a band? Nah, just at home with self-study books. Pity that you stopped. Why? You could have played together. Ellie caught herself and her expression changed. What am I even saying? Go play with your hysterical girlfriend. Maybe you'll even make a decent manzai. Comedy. Oh, a straight man and a funny man. I gotcha. I've seen that before. Here you go again. I sighed without a hint of anger. What? Acting like this again? Like what? She put her arms akimbo, which made her look like a noble madame reprimanding peasant girls. I thought you didn't like Iwamura's attitude. That's because she's... Suddenly, Ellie got embarrassed. What, having a sense of dignity is a crime now? No, unless it turns into a superiority complex. On the other hand, I had something to learn from her. Snapping and being rude to people is far from the best defensive reaction. What do you know? Quote, eret demonstratum. Explained victoriously, snapping my fingers, stared at her, and made a silly face that I had actually seen in one of those comedy shows that only the Japanese enjoy. You could see yourself right now. Ali laughed and the tension finally subsided. By the way, we're giving a performance tonight. You seemed to like the last time, right? You can drop by. Just don't stare at me the entire time. God, I wasn't. Anyway, I can't make it today. Why? She asked with surprise, and I could have sworn a hint of disappointment. You might find it hard to believe, but I have stuff to do too. Apart from pulling faces. Yes, and watching TV, and horsing around. And this stuff is something you're going to be doing with that girl? Even if it is, what of it? I just don't want you two to plot against me and my family again. Her father is missing, you know. I parried coldly. I understand and I'm sorry about that, but... Ali went quiet and suddenly pouted, which for a moment made her vaguely resemble Himitsu. Actually, you know what? I don't understand, nor do I want to. I'm not Mother Teresa, and I don't have to sympathize with her with every beggar I come across. What? I was genuinely surprised by her reaction. Sure, you could say that Ellie was a bit conceited, but not arrogant like this. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Anyway, people go to school to study, in case you didn't know. Then she ran out of the classroom. Was she really that hurt by Kagome's words? That was pretty cute, Mafia babe. This Ellie person. Yes, Iwamura was capable of making anyone fume with anger if only a minute or two, but people tend to most vehemently defend the things most important to them. What could a young noble lady hold important? Her pride, I guess. Had Kagome really managed to fight her way into the heart of the enemy's impenetrable fortress and hit its weakest spot? This is all so strange. Something tells me that the deeper it goes, the messier it gets. I was heading toward my classroom with the firm intention to get to the end of the day without any trouble. What the heck? Who the heck is this now? However, there was an unfamiliar girl waiting for me at the entrance, impatiently coiling a lock of hair around her finger. And no kin? Who's asking? It immediately became clear to me that the conversation wouldn't go anywhere good. We need to talk. Let's find a place. The bell's about to ring. You a nerd? She scoffed contemptuously, looking me up and down. She's pretty too. Is she the mysterious fifth person? What do you want to talk about? And who are you in the first place? My name is Kawashima. I'm Ellie-chan's friend. Chan? Well, let's go then. The girl took me around the corner. She looked pretty normal by local standards, quite cute and well kept, confident and loose, maybe even a bit defiant. Hope you realize you aren't in a normal public school. And Ellie-chan isn't your normal student. You could say that. And? I could say that. She exclaimed and made a face like she'd stepped in something foul. I'm her friend, and I won't allow trash like to hang out with her, and a gaijin to boot. Now there was disgust. In case you haven't noticed, Ellie doesn't look exactly like she's Japanese herself. Well, guys, sadly I think we're going to leave it with this strange girl here. Let's save the game. Right there. And tomorrow? I know. I know. But, yeah, it's almost 3, and I gotta go. I still have to watch my daily shows, and take a flippin' shower. Let's see how far we are in the gallery again. We're missing this, and that, and that, and that, and that. There's a lot of songs that we have. It was inspiring. Thank you for the stream. You're welcome. Glad you had a good time. Ooh, almost all of the pictures are done. They're almost done. And as for the CG, yeah, it's not almost done at all, actually. We still have a lot to go. But yeah, thank you for stopping by, guys. This game is still very interesting, and there'll be more next week. Why? Because tomorrow is Friday, and you know what that means. Among Us! But yeah, take care, guys. Love you all. I will see you all tomorrow. Or tonight, rather. Bye!